try and do that today. Maybe we'll have to go to Arethusa. Maybe there's some lions down that end of the world. That will be on the cards a little bit later. Now I can just see people's footprints on the ground. Maybe the bushwalk team was moving around here today or earlier this morning. Okay. Right. We're going to keep searching around here, but the real show's about to start any minute.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Well, doesn't that just look like an idyllic spot to spend an afternoon? I once saw a lion there. There's no lion there now, but that's okay, because this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
A very good afternoon to all of you and welcome on the Sunset Safari. And after 2 years at Safari Live, or nearly 2 years, you would have thought the one thing I would have learned to do was not park facing in that direction. Can we hold off on the introduction so I can actually look at you? Just bear with me 1 second, because the sun is right in my eyes. Let's try this again. Let's park that way. You'd think I'd know this by now. My name is Jamie, and apparently I don't know which way the sun moves through the sky. And this afternoon, Rohan is on camera with me once again, and you are watching the Sunset Safari live from Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. So right up in the top northeastern corner of one of the most beautiful countries. And I'm sorry, I thought I heard an impala alarm calling, but I was mistaken. It was just them rutting. And that would of course have been a sort of a very exciting start to our Sunset Safari, because my plan for this afternoon is to go off in search of the 2 royal leopard cubs. Now, if you would like to ask us any questions, remember this is live, which means that your questions and your comments can get fed through to us through the dulcet tones of Kirsty McLennan-Smith in the final control. So send those through on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. And just a quick disclaimer, an additional disclaimer. This afternoon we will be practicing for advert breaks. This is not because we are bringing adverts onto the internet stream. It's just something that we have to practice for whenever our TV shows roll around, because of course there will be some exciting appearances for our next TV shows. And not to give anything further away, let's send you over to Taylor.
Good afternoon, everybody, and of course a big welcome from all of us here at Wild Earth. It's a pleasure to, of course, have you all watching, and I look forward to hearing some of your questions this afternoon. But we're at the moment are surrounded by a herd of wildebeest. Now, my name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Senzo, and well, we're bringing you a live safari, as Jamie has, I'm sure, already told you. But it's really hot. It's a nice day, actually. A little bit of wind. I believe it was a bit windier this morning. Not too bad. It's settled down this afternoon. And this herd of wildebeest seem very, very relaxed. Some of them hiding about in the shade, keeping away from the sun, while the rest of them don't seem to mind it too much and are making the most of the day and eating as much as they can, I suppose. They don't really stop eating, do they? 24/7, well, almost 24/7. Heads down on the ground. And it's peaceful. Just a couple of weavers every now and then. I can hear some starlings chirping in the background. other than that, it's a very peaceful start to our safari this afternoon. So as I mentioned to you in the pre-drive, I'd said that I'd love to try and find a shadow this afternoon. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to leave these wildebeest. We're going to go moving around. I'm going to just, well, squeeze past this big wildebeest that's on the road. Hopefully it won't mind us. And then we're going to just keep checking around here just to see if we can see any more leopard tracks. Hello, girl. Sorry, madam. Sometimes they're really funny. They become quite curious. She's just sort of staring us down. It's okay. I'll move away from you. Sussing us out, making sure we don't get too close. And off she goes. Bye-bye, girl. Right, let's keep going. So, looking for leopard tracks. Nothing just yet, and this is a great road to sort of track on. The substrate's nice and soft. But what we will do is we'll go to one of the busier roads, Triple M, which is a boundary, and just have a look if she hasn't been moving around over there, because yesterday afternoon she did exactly that. She moved in between game drives. Right, so we're going to continue to where the power lines are in the distance. Tristan is on bushwalk this afternoon. Let's jump on board with him and, well, enjoy the walk.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Sunset Safari Bushwalk. My name is Tristan, and on camera today we've got Dave, and we are going to be out in the beautiful autumn afternoon looking for all the little things, as well as probably trying to head a little bit further southwards down towards the Mulawati and maybe give Jamie a hand with the two royal cubs. I did have them this morning, and I have a fair idea of where I left Hosanna, and I think they might have gone to a little waterhole that's not too far from where I left him, and I'm pretty sure that that's where they're going to be. So we'll go slowly along the Mulawati, which will be really, really spectacular, and while there's still some water around and all the mud wallows before the winter really takes hold, it'll be good to explore some of those as we go. So that's the plan for bushwalk this afternoon. We're also going to check as many plants and flowers and anything that we can really find that's still small, because as I was saying, as winter starts to approach and to creep in, we're going to get to a situation where we're going to have most of our insects disappearing. We're not going to have too much life, so we might as well make use of it while we have it and try and take advantage of all the life that we do. Now, there is a plant out here that is normally spectacular for insect life, and most of them have something on them. So it's this little plant that we have here. Now, this is called a Wiltheria plant, and it is a hive of activity the whole summer. We've had many caterpillars on it, but it also seems to be a really great place for spiders. So I'm just looking around, trying to see if I can see any, and I can actually see two already without having to look too hard. The first one is right next to me over here. So there we go, there's the one spider. Now, this is one of the orb-web families. I saw them a few days ago on bushwalk, but I still haven't found the exact member of the family, so I can't find the exact name for it, but it is one of the orb-webs, and they often will use the Wiltheria because it's got quite a supple leaf, so the leaf is very sort of supple, and when they wrap their web around it, it almost creates a funnel that allows them to then sit inside there and stay quite protected and quite safe. So it's really a great place if you want to have eggs in particular. So a lot of them will use it for eggs, and then also just for a point of safety. So they don't actually construct webs to catch food on these Wiltherias. It's more just a point where they can stay nice and safe. So these Wiltherias at the moment are spectacular hideouts for spiders, which means you've got to watch yourself a little bit when you walk through here and don't want to get caught up with spiders all over you and get spider bites. I know Brent had a spider bite a few days ago, but it seems that he's all right and everything is clearing up, but there are some nasty ones. There's another species of spider that we get in this area called a sack spider. And the sack spider has got a very nasty bite. It can leave you with this massive gaping wound. It's got a cytotoxic element to its venom, so it causes breakdown of your tissue, and you end up with these sort of black big welts, and then there's some necrosis that starts from there, and it can be quite difficult to actually get it to heal. So you have to be a bit careful of those while we're doing our spider hunting. But other than that, I think it will be a beautiful afternoon. There's not a cloud in the sky. The wind is blowing a little bit, but it is starting to drop now, which is good news for us. This morning it was very windy, and when it's windy, walking around in thick, dense bush areas is not the greatest thing on foot. But when the wind drops now in this afternoon, hopefully it'll allow us to go and negotiate that Mulawati riverbed without too many worries. We obviously have to be a bit careful for elephants and buffalo as well. So Debbie in Vancouver, you're saying you wouldn't mind seeing some of the impala rut this afternoon. Well, we'll definitely try and see if we can find them. Quarantine is a great place to see it. I think it's probably a little bit warm at the moment for the impalas to be out in quarantine. You can see it's not very much shade at the moment, but when we start coming back off towards the end of bushwalk around sunset, we'll find a flood of impalas onto this open area, and it really should be a good time to concentrate on the rutting and see if maybe we can find them for you, because as herds arrive, so different males are going to come, and we're going to get a situation where the males are going to compete a lot for the females. So we'll definitely keep that in mind for a little bit later, and hopefully we'll be able to show you those males in full force. Now we're going to carry on our walk, as I said, and we're going to try head towards the Mulawati, and while we do that, I believe Taylor is on the hunt for leopards, and let's see how she's doing.
Well, we're on Triple M now, and so far we haven't had any luck, well, in the form of footprints, dung, preferably a leopard. We haven't had any of those just yet. So I'm not too certain as to what, or whoever that female leopard may have been, was getting up to, but I am in a little bit going to pop onto Arethusa and I think go and check around Red Dam, because that sort of seems to be a route that Shadow likes to use. And if you remember, a few afternoons ago I had Shadow's track crossing on Triple M back into Arethusa, and then it went north towards along Parallel Road North. So I wonder if she's going to walk a route like that again. It's not the first time that she's used something like that. She often does. Now, if you do see the camera wobbling just a little bit, I am on Triple M and there are lots of corrugations on the road, so it does cause a little bit of a vibration, but it is also a great road to spot tracks. But unfortunately, like we always say, it is one of the busier roads, which is not the greatest. Oh, yeah, so thank you for reminding me, Kirst. It is, of course, Byron's birthday today, and I know that all of you are wishing him a big happy birthday. So, Byron, from all of us here at Wild Earth, happy birthday, and we'll have to celebrate when you're back, which I believe is not too long. Isn't he coming back on the weekend, Kirst? Is that true? Or next week sometime, early next week? Next week. There we go. So you will be getting your daily dose of Byron. He'll be back soon, so don't fear about that. But yes, happy birthday, and we hope you're having a fantastic time wherever you may be. Maybe we'll get some luck today because it's Byron's birthday. Because I'd like to see Shadow and a cub, but I'd also like to see Lion. So I'm a bit torn between the two. But we'll see. It's nice to see the big Birminghams and watch them grow. They've definitely got much bigger. Come on, leopard tracks. There's really nothing today on this road. Maybe we'll have to quickly check a little bit of Gowrie Main and do a loop and then come back onto Arethusa. I just want to maybe give down that side, sort of closer towards the gate, one more go before I cut across. I'm hearing strange noises. I don't know where they're coming from. Maybe it was a bird. Right. Ooh, what do you think, Senzo? I don't know. It's always tough, you know, because we see these signs all the time when you're driving around and trying to find things, and you think to yourself, right, the next time I'm definitely going to go that route because I'm going to get that leopard. And well, that doesn't seem to be happening this afternoon, but we're not going to let that get us down. We're going to keep on searching, of course. I think I'm going to definitely do another loop in Djuma and then go on to Arethusa a little bit later. And let's go across to Jamie, who's found herself in one of the cooler spots this afternoon.
Thinking. We have found one of the coolest spots in Djuma, both in terms of temperature and also just in terms of seeing the most exciting things, and that of course is the Mulawati River system, where all sorts of animals, just like this female warthog, like to hang out and enjoy the really deliciously green food and a little bit of shelter and protection. She's a big girl. Look at the size of those tusks. That is an impressive female. And there we go, her two little piglets, bottoms in the air, snuffling around, joining their mother in her afternoon foraging. Off she goes, slowly but surely making her way out of this drainage line, stopping to defecate. Lovely. Thanks, girl. That nearly went on that little piglet's head. Not that they would have minded, actually. And in fact, you might even, although I think they're a little bit old to still do this, I was going to say, if these piglets had been a little bit younger, you might even have seen them stop to feed off her dung, which sounds terribly disgusting to us, but actually is quite an essential process for a lot of herbivores, young herbivores, in terms of passing on some of the good gut bacteria that their mothers have. So particularly for creatures like the warthog that digests their food in their intestine rather than being ruminants, that gut bacteria is all important. And so zebra, warthog, I've seen hippo do it, I've seen rhino do it. They all practice coprophagy at a young age. Now don't you do it. You've got plenty of good gut bacteria. Yes, good girl. Just having a jolly good sniff of what she produced. And then off she goes. Now, Melissa, you want to know how can we identify the gender? Well, for one, she did give us a very good view of her hind parts, which means that we could clearly see that she didn't have any descended testicles, which you see quite clearly in male warthogs. But one of the best ways is to actually have a look at their faces, which of course, just because I want to have a look at their faces, are now hidden behind the grass. Ooh, trot, 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 trot. I love the way that warthog moved. And essentially, what you're looking at is the warts that give warthogs their names. So the warts, they're not actually warts, they're protrusions that are essentially made up of cartilage. They're kind of grisly and very solid. On females, they only have 2, 1 on each side. On males, they have 4, 2 on each side, a pair close to the eyes and a pair close to the nose. And in males, in fully grown males, they're much, much better developed. But if you're looking at a little warthog piglet, you can still see they'll have tiny little ones, tiny little warts on either side. And if they've got 4, then it's a male. If they've got 2, then it's a male. If they've got 2, then it's a female. One of my favorite stories, of course, at this point to trot out, like a warthog, is the fact that Pumbaa, anatomically, if you look at the Lion King, is a lady, not a boy. So there you go. There's a lady warthog. Who would have guessed it? Right, let's go see whether or not Shongile and Hosanna have popped out at Twin Dams. This morning, of course, was filled with activity here. Tristan had them. Then all of a sudden there were wild dogs, and that would have sent them scurrying away. I'm hoping they've decided to come out. And speaking of creatures that only occasionally come out, Taylor's found a very special one.
Look at what we've got, and well, I was going to say that luckily you got to us quite quickly because, this tortoise is moving well on its way. Now I can see a big truck coming. Go, tortoise, go! You can do it! Quickly before the truck comes! Now, ideally, I want this little fella to, get a move on. So if I had a whip, I'd start cracking it because, I think that little tortoise knows that there's something coming because it's moving fairly quickly. Here we go. The truck is now stopping. I waved him down. I felt like a policeman there for a moment, just to allow this tortoise to cross. Come on, little guy, you can do it. You are holding up all the traffic this afternoon, and this is the fun thing about being on safari, is that, of course, you get to watch these things. I'm going to let this car quickly come past us, this big truck, because he looks like he's in a bit of a hurry. So let me just pull over to the side and we'll let him come past us. We'll do this. And then to just pull right off, of course. Right, let's let him come past. It's interesting. It's a big diesel truck, so obviously bringing in fuel from for a couple of the lodges, so you're going to hear a bit of noise as it goes past now. We won't argue with that truck. Right, now let's see if we can find our friend the tortoise again. Hopefully it hasn't gone too far. But you never know with all of this long grass. Oh my goodness. There it is. Hang on. Gotcha. Can you see it just in the grass? There we go, to the right. It actually stands out quite easily with the, with all of the sun on its shell. Yes, poke your little head out. The big truck is now gone. You are safe. Well done. You made it. You have got the strongest genes. You can move on with life now. It's past the natural selection test. I suppose that's one of them here, out here when you're in the bush. Just having a little look around for the moment. Now, I haven't actually been seeing too many tortoises feeding at the moment. Remember, we also are practicing ad breaks, and we're just about to go into one. It's not a real ad break, of course, so just bear with me. Right. Who knows what's going to happen next? We're going for a short break, but don't go anywhere. Who knows what this tortoise could get up to next? Okay, we're back now. So we have another look at our tortoise, our dear friend the tortoise. It's still just down there, not doing too much. Now, it was originally going in this direction. It had come from the other side of the road, but now it's facing us. Now, Andreen, you were wondering on this fine sunny afternoon if a tortoise could feel the vibrations from that truck. Most definitely, and I think that's what encouraged the tortoise to pick up the pace a little bit. It was very, very interesting to watch, because we got there, we actually kept our distance, because I didn't want to scare the tortoise and make it run across the road too quickly in fear that we may not get to see it. So, most definitely, it picked up the pace. Oh, it's a pity the sand in the road is not that great. It's actually quite hard, because it would have been nice to see the different gaits that tortoise sort of left behind with its tracks, because I don't think we've ever seen that. You can see it with lions and leopards and elephants, how fast they were walking, but it was nice to have that tortoise walking slowly and then went into a brisk walk. Well, I don't know. Could you call that running? I don't know if you could call that running. But it is a lovely little tortoise nonetheless, going about its day. And it's quite a small one. It's probably a couple of years old, maybe 2 or 3 years old. It's a leopard tortoise. They don't grow particularly quickly. But it should have had a nice growth spurt now with all the lovely vegetation that's been around. Everything else is growing quickly, all the impalas. All the birds that were babies are not babies anymore. Now, Rakesh, you're wondering if tortoises are normally found around dams, how can this tortoise be on the road and survive the climate? Well, Rakesh, I think it's because we've got different sort of species. We don't just have tortoises, we've got terrapins out here too, and maybe that's what you're referring to. So the terrapins have sort of got a slightly more flatter shape, where you can see the tortoises are a lot sort of more robust, a lot rounder, and you'll notice that the terrapins have got webbing between their toes if you're able to get a close enough look. Obviously, it can be quite difficult, whereas a tortoise has just got little claws on the edge of its feet. The terrapin's got sort of webbing and claws. And we'll see if we can actually get a picture, or see if we cannot get a picture. We'll try and find one this afternoon for you, Rakesh, so you can see the difference. So we see the leopard tortoises and the Speaks hinge tortoise out and about, all over the roads, all over the reserve. But of course, you can see them near water too. They need to drink, but if there are smaller pools of water available, they will choose to use those. And the same thing goes with the terrapins. Sometimes you see them in the big dams, sometimes you see them on a puddle in the road or in a mud wallow. It just depends, but we'll teach you the differences. And then, of course, you get turtles. Well, for us in South Africa, we all say a turtle is something that is in the ocean. They've got flippers rather than sort of claws or webbing. And they predominantly, well, like I said, live in the sea. Hey, very... Now, John, you would like to see a tortoise track. I think I'm going to have to reposition the car slightly, but yes, you can. Just so we can have a look. We've got 1 minute to TV, so I won't get out the vehicle just yet. I'll show you in the moment. Can you see them over there? Just going around the corner. There they are, they're just over here. They're quite small. Going across the road. So that's what they look like. It almost looks like a mini car tire tread, don't you think? That's very cool. Like I said, I'll get out after, we're just about to come back from an ad break, so let me do that in the car so I can get the countdown properly and be able to do it. And then I'll get out and show you exactly how small those tracks were. So you can imagine it's not a particularly big tortoise. Now I have to concentrate. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Senzor. Now, if you were with us shortly, or just a while ago, we were sitting with a tortoise and we weren't sure what it was going to do. Well, it hasn't gone very far. Jamie's still out searching for animals, and Tristan is on foot this fine afternoon. Right, where's our tortoise? Okay. There we go. Hopefully that worked. Let me quickly show you the tracks. There's a car coming, but I think we can do it. So, it came from this side, so you can sort of see the little claws over here, sort of pulling the ground. So you remember when they walk, they're doing this. If that sort of gives you any idea. So it came very quickly. Like I said, I'm sad we can't see the tracks down that end, but I think they would have been a lot closer together. These ones are now moving very, very quickly, and then, okay, I have to move the car. Everyone's supposed to be on holiday and relaxed. Maybe I should have got out and showed them the tortoise tracks. Cool. Rightio. We'll let them come past us and then we shall continue. Oh, okay. Right. I'm going to send you across to Tristan and we'll get back to you in a moment. But he's also down in the Mulwati.
We are indeed. So we're in the Mulawati and we've already found tracks for Shongile, which is great news. So she's come up quite far north from where I had them this morning. She's up all the way near Chelapans, but it's just the tracks for her. I don't see a track for Hosanna yet. Now, the tracks in question, I've just got to find them again because they were in the shadows and it's quite difficult to actually see them. But if we have a look over here, there we go. Now I can see it from this angle. There is little Shongile's footprint. So we can see. And we know that this is a leopard because at the front of the toes here, there's no visible signs of claw marks. If it was a hyena, we would have found little sort of flecks at the front like that. That would have told us it was a hyena. Also at the back here, we can see that there's the 1, 2, and 3 lobes that comes forward, and then the nice evenly spaced toes. Now these tracks are quite fresh. They're from definitely, probably I would say around lunchtime-ish, so this cat can't be too far, which is great news for us. The other thing is that it's heading back towards where Chelapan is, so we probably have to go and check. Maybe she's gone towards Pangolin track. There's a little pan there that she likes to hang around, or even maybe Treehouse Dam, but it is very encouraging news. The other interesting thing is that the wild dogs from this morning came from here, so I thought they actually came further south, but they came from this area and they must have run down the Mulawati, so we found their tracks, and Shongile's tracks are on top of that, so we know that at least that her tracks are quite fresh. Herbie's convinced that they're not too far away, which is great news for us, so we're going to probably carry on down into the Mulawati and just check. She might be lying in one of these shady areas. You can see all around me it's very sort of dense and shady, and it is the perfect place for a leopard to have an afternoon nap. Also, we know with Shongile that she loves hunting terrapins, so at the moment she is going from pan to pan to pan to look for food. So every time we keep finding her, she seems to be going from a pan to another one. So we'll check all along and try and see all these mud wallows and see if maybe she's not lurking somewhere in this area. But like I said, this is the perfect place for a leopard to spend time. The problem with Shongile is she's so relaxed on foot is that when you get close to her, she actually doesn't even run away. So in these kind of thickets, we have to pay extra special attention and really just check exactly what's going on and make sure that we're focusing on where she is and what she's doing. Now I'm just trying to check where she crosses the Mulawati, but I think she crossed further down. There was tracks that were just coming across there, and I think she goes up onto this little bank. From there, I'm not quite sure. So we're going to have to try and follow those and see where they end up. But this is the best thing about tracking, is just trying to work out where they've gone, where the footprints are, and exactly where they could be. It really is quite cool. So Dee, you're saying you're very chuffed to hear that Hosanna and Shongile were together this morning, but sad to hear that Karula's not around. Well, it is. It's a bit of a mixed emotions kind of day because it was so nice to come across the two of them and see them interacting again. But the fact that Karula wasn't there is just a stark reminder that she is still missing, and it's not ideal. But hopefully in time she will be sort of emerge somewhere, and maybe we'll get an answer to what's going on as to where she's been. We just have to live in hope. Now we can see Shongile came down and she's then crossed here. So these are her tracks in the sand, and you can see how the sand has distorted the appearance of this track now. It's no longer nearly as clear as what we saw up there. So the pad at the back is very soft now, and you can really not make out any toes. But the thing with the leopard is it's got very furry paws. So when they step in sand, because of the paws, they end up making a big smudge. Now with my hand you can see very sort of individual prints, and that's because I've got no fur. If I had fur, all of this smooths out and we end up with a situation like this where it almost looks like a hoofed animal, like a zebra has stepped here and not a leopard. So it's quite an interesting way that you can see tracks differ. You can also see that she's starting to get heavier. A few weeks ago, or a few months ago, when we first were seeing Shongile on her own before Karula, when Karula left, her tracks used to sit on top of the sand. She didn't really sink in, but now we're starting to see her really digging in, so there's a little bit more weight on her. And I was saying to Dave this morning that Shongile was definitely had caught up to Hosanna. She was nowhere near as small as what she used to be. She used to be about half the size of Hosanna, whereas today she was almost up to his shoulder height. So she's really grown quite a bit in the last month. Now we're going to carry on with these Shongile tracks, and I believe Jamie is still tracking, and she maybe has got Hosanna's tracks.
No sign of Hosanna, but I am just helping the bushwalk team out and making sure that these two cubs haven't come wandering out sort of a little bit further to the east of where Tristan is checking. But to be honest with you, I'm just moving further afield because I can get there faster than you, or than they can. But I suspect if they are in that drainage line, you'll probably get a far better view with the bushwalk team than you might from the vehicle. I agree with Tristan though. I'm utterly astounded at how much Shongile has grown when we compare her to her brother. I didn't really notice it in the past just because I think she was looking so thin that it wasn't immediately apparent, but she really has. She's catching up to her brother, which is lovely to see. And the way Tristan was describing it, he was making me laugh after drive this morning. Her irritation with her brother, who was following around like a sort of goofy brother. Her signs of slight irritation. Okay, they haven't popped out here. I think what we'll probably do is we'll probably move along to the east, and then as it starts to, if Tristan and them have any luck, we'll give them a further hand as it starts to get a bit darker and as they start to have to move closer to camp. There's also, of course, the promise of the Styx Pride on their waterbuck kill. I haven't seen the Styx Pride in ages. I'm quite looking forward to that. That's something I'd like to see. And some elephants this afternoon. Some elephants would be good. I haven't seen any elephants in ages either. And of course, I feel anything would be appropriate this afternoon for Earth Day, I guess. But elephants might be the most appropriate animal to find on this very special Earth Day. Byron, of course, fortunate to be sharing his birthday with Earth Day. That was unintentional. It amused me more than it was actually amusing. I got World Wildlife Day on my birthday, and Byron's got Earth Day. Alright, let's kick off our Earth Day bird list. Well, this is more for our new viewers. There's a bird that we don't always get to see, and it makes a really lovely noise, and it's at the top of that marula tree over there. And I'll help you out there, Rohan, because it's a bit of a tricky spot. Oh, never mind, there it goes. That, well done, is a grey hornbill. And they make this wonderful coo, coo sound. It's beautiful. Standing by Tristan, just chatting to Tristan, coordinating our search. Okay, copy. I'll pop my head around that direction. Confusion. I wish I could relay this. I will relay this conversation. I wish you could hear it. Copy, no problem, Taylor. Okay. That was Tristan calling me to say go check Treehouse Dam, and Taylor responding by saying that she's already at or close to Treehouse Dam. And then she got her east and west mixed up, which happens on a regular basis. Happens to me all the time. So she got her east and west mixed up and said she was going to come east to look for Shadow. And then we all had a good laugh. So that was that conversation. That radio is the way in which we communicate not just with the Wild Earth guides, but also any of the guides out here, as a way of coordinating our searches, deciding which way we're going to go in the afternoon or the morning, and essentially making sure that everywhere gets checked. Copy that. And Taylor's just telling me what her plans are. Should we go see if the warthog is in the hyena den? Yes. One stoner and 2 cats. Sorry. Everybody, I'm very popular this afternoon. Everybody wants to talk to me. No, I Okay, copy. I will try and get hold of the eastern stations once they go mobile. Oh, goodness. Sorry about this. It's lots of coordinating. We saw the birds earlier. 2 cats and 1 stoner, or 1 stoner and 2 cats. I'm sorry, I can't remember which way around it was. You would like to know whether we have toucans, like your 2 cats, in this area. We don't have toucans. We have hornbills. They're not related to each other. They're completely different birds. Toucans can use their bills for thermoregulation, which is something that our hornbills absolutely can't. This is the road to the old hyena den. You can go see whether or not the warthog that's been living in that den is still there. And then it'll give you a lovely opportunity to show you the warts on the warthog, the male warthog that I was describing earlier. Okay, watch out for the thorns. Sorry, I'm splitting my brain into 2. I'm just listening to the game drive radio. Okay, let's see if this massive warthog is here. He likes to move between this old hyena den and the mud wallow just on Chitwa up ahead. Those are his favorite places. Very good thought from... Oh wow, there's no road here anymore. Look at that. That's a way of getting yourself really rather stuck. Okay, it's a rather deep rut in the road. Let's not go in that. How are we going to do this? And James Richards' thought was that termites and termite mounds are quite a good way of celebrating Earth Day. I can't argue with that. They do form such a crucial part of our ecosystem. They are very, very important to life out here. And they do, of course, at the same time serve as a habitat for so many different types of animals. I fear I have made a poor decision in this. A very poor decision. I don't want to get stuck today. Shall we risk it or shall we not? This is the pressing question upon everybody's mind. Uh-oh. Will Jamie survive the attack by trees or won't she? These are also pressing questions on our mind. Is the warthog there? We may never know, because I can't get there, and I don't think that it is. However, on that note, we are going to be taking a short break very, very soon. Don't go anywhere. We could find these little leopards at absolutely any moment. We'll see you soon. Do you suffer from the symptoms of colds and flu and hay fever? You should get yourself some elephant dung. Okay, sorry, we can't go this way. I would prefer not to get stuck. That was my version of a fake ad break, but I didn't feel like following it through. Okay. Phew. By the way, the other part of the conversation was coming from Tristan was that he's picked up on wild dog tracks as well as Shongile's tracks. Something that I'm sure he'll tell you more about, but something that is very interesting and might change my plans about traveling to the east. I think I'm going to go further to the north and check Buffelshoek Dam. I know they like that spot. There's water there, there'll be shade. These sorts of temperatures, look, it's not boiling, but it's 20, what is it today? 26 degrees centigrade, so 78 Fahrenheit. It's warm enough that they'll be in the shade, resting. That would also be a very nice surprise for the afternoon. I'm changing my plans temporarily. We spoke about the fact that termites, or James Richard actually suggested that termites would be a good animal for Earth Day, something that I cannot disagree with. Perhaps Tristan has his own ideas as to what a good choice would be for a celebration of Earth Day.
Ooh, Amy, that's a tough one. I think I'm going to have to give it a thought. Now, I'm pretty sad that I forgot that it was Earth Day and didn't say anything. I also forgot one other thing. So while I'm thinking about something that would describe Earth Day, I also need to say happy birthday to Byron. So I hope Byron is somewhere in Johannesburg with his feet up watching the rugby. We all know he loves his rugby, with an apple juice in hand, and is enjoying his Saturday afternoon. And I feel like he and Taylor have this special bond, and with Taylor having her blonde hair and she's so vocal in camp and loves to sing, that maybe she should give a Marilyn Monroe's type style happy birthday to Byron while we're live. That would be quite entertaining, wouldn't it? Now, unfortunately, we haven't picked up any further signs of Shongile and where they've gone. I'm pretty sure that they are somewhere around this drainage system, or these pans, the chiller pans. Herbie's been up checking around the mud wallows there. No further sign there, so I would imagine that they are somewhere here. It's just now a case of working out exactly where. The problem is when we're in the sandy areas like we are now, it's fine, we can see the tracks, but as soon as it goes into these thickets around us and onto the grassy plains and banks, it becomes really difficult to see a tiny little footprint the size of Shongile's through all of these thickets. The other thing with Shongile is that this morning she was really moving quite quickly. She didn't hang around much at all. She was kind of jogging everywhere where she was going, so it's going to be quite tough. If she did carry on that pace throughout the morning, she could already be on the side of Shabamu or Treehouse Dam, which is very far from here. So we just got to try and check, but the tracks themselves look fairly fresh and from somewhere around now, so I'm hoping that we will find her and she's somewhere here. I'm going to just probably carry on a little bit further southwards just in case Hosanna is lagging behind as well. Jamie. So Jamie, you're saying, is it possible to come across wild dogs on foot? It is indeed. I've come across wild dogs quite a few times on foot, actually. They are around every now and then, and you bump into them, and it's normally when you're tracking another animal. So if you're tracking something like a lion or leopard, and you're kind of walking through and you'll just bump into these dogs on foot, it does happen. Now, where we're walking now, there are tracks of wild dogs, but I think it's the same tracks from this morning. They don't look as fresh, so the tracks were running around here, and when I found the dogs, they actually came out of the Mulawati a little bit further south of me. So I'm pretty sure that's from those dogs. The thing about dogs though is they generally aren't that fond of people on foot. So normally when you find wild dogs and you find them on foot, they tend to be a little bit skittish and they can run. There is obviously exceptions to the rule. So James had this incredible sighting, I don't know, about a year ago now, where the Sands pack came running out onto the road and James was just sitting on the road, and they were really curious and they came very close and they investigated and then they carried on. So sometimes they do kind of want to know what's going on. They are very sort of intriguing creatures. They like to know what's going on and investigative, and so they come up and they check the lens and they check what's going on and make sure everything is all sort of in order and that there's no possible threats that they have to worry about. So the wild dogs can be found on foot. It's just really difficult because of the sort of terrain that they cover and the distances that they cover to track them on foot. It makes much more sense tracking them on a vehicle than it does walking around. Now, like I say, we are still kind of moving around in this area and we're checking and we're trying to see what's going on. I know Jamie's helping us. She's also in the area. She's trying to sort of see what's going on. So between the two of us, I'm sure we will be able to find something. Now, the important thing is when walking around here is just to pay attention and to make sure that you're seeing what's going on. Now, we are going to take a short little break, and while we do that, James is going to be following up on the leopard tracks. I'm going to be following up on leopard tracks, and Taylor's looking for Shadow and her cub. So we'll see you when we get back. Sorry, Kirst, if you can repeat that. I didn't hear you very nicely. So, welcome back. We are going to carry on, like I say, with the tracks, and I can't find any further tracks from here. I've just been scanning around. It's important when walking here is that you make sure we are looking around and checking what's happening. These areas are all obviously covered with varying footprints, and the problem with this is that there's one animal in particular that can really ruin a tracking experience along a riverbed area, and that is baboons. Baboons love sections like this during the day. They'll often come and try and check out what's going on. There's lots of shady trees, there's fruit on some of these trees, and they walk everywhere, and their footprint, funny enough, actually looks quite similar to a leopard in soft sand. It tends to kind of bulk out and it becomes quite difficult to see. Now, before Dave trips because of a well that we see here, I might as well show you what this is. Now, this was from when the Mulawati was flowing. This is an area where elephants would have come to dig for water. Now, you might wonder, when the Mulawati is flowing, why would the elephants dig? Well, what happens is as the sort of Mulawati flows, the other pans all fill up. Now, those pans become perfect places for wallowing. So you'll find buffalo, elephants, they'll go in there, they'll wallow, they'll defecate, they'll urinate, and that water becomes quite stagnant very, very quickly. Whereas in this area, there'll still be water flowing under the surface of the sand, and so when the elephants come here, they can dig out with their feet, so they'll make this sort of kicking motion like this, and lots of sand comes out, and then you'll start to see there'll be a seep from the underground flow of this river, and it comes through that sand, and it's filtered, and it's clean, and it's tasty, and it is the perfect thing for an elephant to drink. And so they'll dig it up like that. Now, in times of drought, an elephant can be the friend of everybody, because what they do is they dig like this, they drink, then they leave, and there's still seep coming up from there, and you'll find then impalas, leopards, lions, any animal will come in and actually make use of those diggings. So really important part of the ecosystem out here. But now, we haven't had much more luck with our tracks, but we're going to keep looking and just seeing where they could be. And while we do that, I wonder if Taylor's had better luck than we have with the tracks of Shadow and the cub.
We haven't, unfortunately, we actually haven't had any sign at all this afternoon. We did a big loop on Triple M and all the way down to Gowrie Main, and then back around. We're on Rebecca's now, and I haven't had any luck whatsoever. But I did actually want to show you something. So yesterday afternoon, while we were on Cheetah Plains, to get all my equipment now, let me grab it out of the box. Right. Need this one. I managed to find this. Let me put it over here. Isn't that beautiful? Now, if you're not sure what it is, this is produced by a milkweed plant. This is the big sort of seed pod over here that you can see it's all dried out. It's almost turned itself out now, that are normally filled with seeds. And then, of course, also this cotton wool-like substance. Now, I remember I told you about the milkweed plant. We found one. Actually, I think we found one here along Rebecca's. Now, the reason why I didn't show it to you yesterday is because I lacked a lighter. And the last milkweed plant I found, it didn't have, well, any seed pods. Oh, it did have seed pods on, but they weren't quite sort of ripe just yet. But this is the perfect one. But I have a lighter with me this afternoon. And I think what I'm going to do is if we keep it a tight shot like that, I'm going to try and light it. But there's a bit of wind, as you can see. So I don't know if it's going to work. Senzo, I'm going to bring it down to where the gear shift is, I think. And we're going to do it a bit lower down, mainly just because, well, there's not a lot of wind here, and I want to show you what happens when you ignite it. Are you ready? Did you see how flammable that was? Literally went up in smoke. How cool is that? Well, that's pretty much the end of it now. It's completely finished. There we go. It is like a birthday candle for Byron, isn't it? But I blew it out for him, unfortunately. But there we go. And I'd said to you the last time when I saw that milkweed plant, I was saying to you that this is what the Europeans, because you get a lot of the milkweed plant down in the Eastern Cape, particularly just around Port Elizabeth, the Grahamstown, Kenton-on-Sea area. And that's where a lot of them first sort of started settling when they arrived in big ships. And it's incredible. So if you've got a lot of dry grass, you can bundle that up and you can actually use this to help spark all that dry grass. You need quite a bit of it though. You saw how quickly that sort of disappeared. There's a little bit left on here. Let's see if I can get it to go. Nah, not enough. Just to bring a little bit of smoke. But very cool. Nonetheless, you don't see it very often here. Chuck that down on the floor. Don't worry, it is completely out. Let's carry on. But I've always wanted to do it. I used to take lots of them and sort of light them at different times, which was quite nice. Ooh, we've got a snaky track. So they don't know what snake was what snake was walking here, was slithering along the ground. You see that track in the ground over there? There you go, you can actually see it's perfect. Now, it's not particularly big, it's not quite wide, but just from that movement, I wonder if it wasn't a puff adder that was just sort of moving along the ground. We're seeing a lot of puff adders at the moment, and this is actually typically the time of the year, well, I've found in this area, that you start to see lots of snakes. It's just before the cold weather comes about us. They're coming out to get the last warmth, possibly moving around, trying to get, well, a couple of meals before they have to go into sort of a temporary hibernation. And they'll just go away for the cold days, and as soon as we have a couple of warmer days in winter, you'll see them out in the roads, normally during the middle of the day or just as the sun's going down, coming back towards the roads to get all of that warmth. Maybe tonight will be the night that we see another puff adder. We were quite lucky last cycle. We saw a number of different individuals. Maybe we'll be lucky again before winter sets in. Okay, I haven't driven Rebecca's road once since I've been back at work. And I love this road. Hello, Aaron from New Zealand. Now, you said that we've all been chatting about Earth Day and you were wondering what it meant to me, Earth Day. You know, for me, I think that Earth Day, you should just enjoy the basic things in life. Sort of move away from all of technology and the sophistication that we have, and, well, like what we just did there. Use an old tinder, well, an old way to start a fire, or perhaps just make a log fire this evening, something like that, just to sit around, have a drink or a cup of hot chocolate with some marshmallows, outside in the darkness, and just sort of enjoy the peace and quiet instead of, well, sitting around a TV or listening to music and things like that. Maybe just give nature a chance to show you or remind you how beautiful it actually is. And it's not typical, it's difficult if you're living in a city, because I'm sure you're only going to hear sirens and traffic. But when you're out here in the bush, I think we have got the best opportunity to celebrate Earth Day, and I hope that we are going to have a little fire tonight. We haven't had a fire in ages, and we were actually chatting about it yesterday, and how that's one of our favorite things about fires, about winters, is coming back to a nice, beautiful big fire. But I don't know if it's going to be cold enough, but it has started to getting chillier and chillier. But we're going to keep on searching. Hopefully we're going to get some more luck, even if we find a bird or an elephant or something along those lines. But I'm going to send you across to Jamie, who's found herself a big old buffalo wallowing in the mud.
Two big old buffaloes wallowing in the mud. What a rare treat this is indeed. We've been seriously lacking in buffalo sightings, and I'm quite excited to see them again. The last one I saw was on foot and was about to chase me, and we had to do a very rapid retreat. So it's nice to see them from the comfort of the vehicle. When they're comfortable, I'm comfortable, and everybody's quite happy. Although it must be difficult not to be comfortable when you're enjoying a spa treatment in the same way these two boys are. Settled in the mud, looking like perfect opposites of each other, and enjoying the nice cool effect of it. And ruminating away. Absolutely covered in mud, so they've obviously been sleeping in this way. And you can see it's thick and glutinous. That's going to do absolute wonders for the skin, darling. Or at least the ticks that are on the skin of the buffalo. It will catch them, suffocate them, and allow them to be scraped off. And what a relief that must be for our buffalo bulls. Now this, of course, is the last thing that you want to encounter when on a bushwalk, is a buffalo in a pan, which is one of the big reasons why it's nice to get to know an area so that you can memorize where the different pans are, muddy wallows, where a buffalo might decide to arrive and settle itself in the mud, because often you'll find that because they're shallow, sort of time to move away from them. And there you can see they are contentedly ruminating. And I have a question that, Kirst, I'm going to pass through you, while we're watching these buffalo, just out of curiosity, because otherwise it determines where I'm going to go from here. Can Tristan let me know where those wild dogs came from? I would ask him on the Game Drive radio, but they've just found cheetah on Buffelshoek, so I'm not going to get a word in edgeways. But if we could find out where they came from, otherwise there's tracks here that could be quite fresh, which makes for an exciting afternoon. Okay, interesting, very interesting. Thank you, Kirst. Apparently Tristan says the east. I'm up at Quarry Pan and I've got their tracks coming in here. I suspect the same pack, but you never know. What do you think? You two look like bookends. Don't you think they look like really appropriate bookends? An Earth Day bookend. Facing opposite directions. Apparently you're all very excited to see buffalo. I'm actually quite excited as well. It really has been so long since we last saw them. They are, of course, I don't suppose they realize it, but they are in the place where, when I first started working here, one of their companions or compatriots, I'm not quite sure whether it would have had any connection to these buffalo bulls, but when another buffalo lost its life to the Nkuhumas, back in the day when Junior was still around. That's not something they have to worry too much about at the moment, though, because the lions are very far away from here. Oh, you can just see his tongue poking out as the bolus comes back into his mouth, chewing contentedly away. Tanis, you want to know, speaking about how dangerous a sight it can be, stumbling upon such peaceful buffalo, you want to know how fast can the buffalo get out of the mud wallow, do I think? The best way to show you or to demonstrate would be to actually show you, but I won't do that because they're so peaceful and I don't want to disturb them at all, but that would be to get out of the car. You would not believe the speed with which these creatures can move. They look big and heavy and bulky, but they are phenomenally fast, even when they're in thick mud like this, and their turn of speed always astounds me. Even when they look like this chap, like he's dozing away. And if you think about it, it makes sense. If buffalo couldn't get out of the mud wallows quickly, the lions would spend a lot more time hunting them while they're in the mud wallows, because it would just make life so much easier. And you'd find that buffalo would spend less and less time in mud wallows if it completely disadvantaged them. But they do move very, very rapidly. It always astounds me, the speed with which buffalo can move. Having been chased a few times, I know Taylor's been chased a few times. Oh, hello, boy. Yes, I'm talking about you and your grumpy nature. Having a bit of a horn rub in the mud before sitting up again. I know that Bushwalk definitely wouldn't want to encounter these buffalo, but what they found is something that arachnophobes wouldn't want to encounter either.
Indeed, Jamie, and the only reason we found this arachnid is because we were dodging buffalo of our own. So there was some buffalo a little bit further north of us, and we then turned and came across this beautiful bark spider. Now, bark spiders are one of my favorite spiders. They really are the coolest little things. You'll find that they spend most of their day on a branch somewhere where they'll camouflage. You can see the coloration of this individual is perfect. If it was sitting on a tree with bark, it would be really, really difficult to see that. It will camouflage so well. It's even got little bumps on its back to match the mottling of a piece of bark. So really cool. Now, what happens with these guys is they start building their web and constructing their web in the late afternoon, early evening. And by the time the night rolls in, they have constructed their web, and they normally build it over big open pathways or in riverbeds like this. The reason why is they know that this is going to be a highway for insects. As insects are coming through and around this area, so we're going to catch lots of them if they construct them across the sort of circumference or the width of this, not circumference because it's not a circle, the width of this particular riverbed. So really, really clever. The problem with that is that these riverbeds are utilized a lot. So they're used by a lot of different animals. You'll find elephants will move through here, buffalo, rhinos, leopards, all kinds of animals. So instead of being sort of their web getting smashed and they're losing all of that protein, because remember, a web uses protein to be able to make the web or the silk, they will basically construct at night and then they eat it first thing in the morning. So they gain all of that nutrients back, take the whole web down, go and camouflage on the tree, and then come out at this time of the day and start constructing. It's now just finished constructing its web, and it is now sitting right in the middle. It's going to now wait for anything to come in, where it will then, as soon as anything touches, it will run up and it will start to then inject the venom so it can consume it during the night. Isn't that absolutely amazing? Such a clever spider. And this is a very small one. They get much bigger than this. They can sometimes get to about the size of my thumbnail, just the body, and then the legs come off that. So this guy is a tiny little one still. It's got a lot of growing up still to do. But absolutely incredible. Now it's making itself also quite small so that it camouflages a little bit better and is not as much visible. So Yankee, you're asking how can we tell which spiders are poisonous? Well, generally, in fact, no spider is poisonous, actually. Let's start there, firstly. So, spiders, they are venomous. Now, the difference between poisonous and venomous: poison is if you ingest them and you eat them, then you get ill. Venomous is when they inject a venom into you. So, spiders, the ones that are venomous, generally will have some sort of marking on them that will tell you that they are a danger. So, if we take the recluse, the brown recluse, it's got that red part of the abdomen that signals to you that the aposematic coloration that I am dangerous, do not come near me. If you've got things like the golden orb web spiders, they're brightly colored yellow with blacks and whites. The sac spider's got a very bright black face, so it really has a marking that indicates generally that they're dangerous. A spider like this is trying to camouflage because it doesn't have the defense of very potent venom, and so that's why we'll end up with a situation where it's trying to stay as hidden as possible. If it was a spider with a lot of venom and a slightly bigger spider, you'd find it would probably be a lot more brightly colored and show itself to any sort of potential predator that I'm not scared of you, I've got venom, so don't come near me. Now, interestingly enough, you'll see in the middle here, besides the spider sitting, that there's a thickened area of web. Now, that is obviously where a lot of the connecting lines have been joined, but it also serves a purpose. As any animal walks through here, that thickening is quite bright and white, and you'll be able to pick it up. It's actually how I saw it, is from the white itself, and that serves as a sort of warning to animals that are coming through here. Be very careful, my web is here, rather go round, and they then don't break and disrupt the web, which is really, really clever. So that is called a stabilimentum, that little section. So we're going to carry on and try and avoid these buffalo when to walk into them. As Jamie was saying, they can be quite grumpy and quite nasty little things, so we're going to try and stay away from them as much as possible. And they also are not very little either. I think Kirsty's going to shout at me. Kirsty says I use the word little too often, which is probably true, Kirsty. I'm so sorry. But that's the one thing about walking in these riverbeds, is while it is spectacularly beautiful as we go down, it is fraught with danger, because this is a great place for a lot of animals to seek shade and shelter, and so you've got to be a little bit careful when you come into these areas and kind of focus on what's going on. And that's why Herbie is such an important part of what we do. He looks after us all the time and is making sure, while I'm blabbering away and walking down this drainage line, that I'm not in any way compromised when it comes to safety. Now, talking of Herbie, I'm not quite sure where he's actually gone. I think he wants to go and check some of the pans that are up here. So we're going to start going out of the Mulawati and just check a few of the pans that are on the eastern side of this riverbed, and make sure that there's no sign of little Hosanna while we go. And while we do that, I believe Taylor is still on tracks and still looking for Shadow.
We are indeed, and we've just pulled onto Parallel Road North now on Arethusa, and there was a francolin, sounded like a crested francolin, that was alarming. That sounded like it was not very happy. Now I'm trying to look in the tree, because it didn't sound like it was sitting on the ground. I think it was perched somewhere. But of course, as we got here, it has now gone quiet, which is typical of the animals, but it doesn't look like there's anything sitting up in that tree. Okay, we'll carry on. What we'll do is we'll go a bit further and we'll just check the road to see if there are any tracks. Now, this is basically the same area that I had Shadow's tracks in a couple of afternoons ago. So she could have quite easily come through here. They are creatures of habit. What we will do is we'll go around towards Red Dam though and have a look and see if she perhaps has gone, well, for a drink. Now, Reese from Scotland, you're wondering if the drone would be useful to find leopards. You know what, Reese, I think at this time of the year, no. Just because the vegetation is so dense, the grass is quite tall. I think even from the air it would be quite a struggle just to spot things. And then also it would be quite difficult for Connor to get low enough to be able to sort of maneuver over the tops of these trees. They're not all the same height. And I think he would have to get nice and low in some spots. But in winter, that's a completely different ball game, of course, because it's so open and there's just, well, the ground is pretty much bare. When you get to about July, then it would be very much easy to spot any animals. Elephants, buffalo, they'd stand out like a sore thumb. But let's just check here. Let's hang on. Whose footprints do we have here? Hyena. There's just some old hyena tracks going in the sand. Looks like from this morning. Another route. Hyenas are always walking around here. Actually, there's just hyena footprints everywhere these days, which is quite nice. Let's have a look. This is a good spot again. It's nice and cool around here. There's some nice big trees going into a drainage system. And because Shadow does have a young cub, she's most likely to hide her little girl somewhere in a spot like this, where there are a couple of trees, not massive trees, but smaller trees, that if she does find herself in a bit of trouble, she can just sort of climb right up top of them. And it's also out of the way. I mean, other than maybe some animals walking around in the drainage line, at this time of the year the food is sort of quite spread out. Because remember, in the winter months, a lot of the herbivores, they all come down towards the drainage systems where it's the last green vegetation, and then they'll feed on that. But now they're sort of feeding all over, so she wouldn't really be in harm's way. I don't think much would go down there, besides maybe other leopards, maybe baboons. But of course, everywhere in nature there is always, well, something around you. Now remember, this is and of course a live safari. And if you do have any questions, perhaps it's your first time watching, so if you are watching for the first time, make yourself known please, so that we can say hello to you. And remember, there are no such thing as stupid questions. Some of our viewers have been watching for a very, very long time, of course, but if you want to know anything, it doesn't matter if it's been asked 5 million times, we'll happily answer it again for you. We want you to catch up as quickly or to the rest of the viewers who've been watching for a number of years, so you can get on board and keep on learning. That's of course what our show is all about. It's an educational program. We're here to watch and observe animals and sort of their everyday lives, which is really cool. Now, we from Scotland, you're wondering, if we see an injured animal out here, would we be able to help them? Now, it depends. If it's an injury that was caused by human interference, so a gunshot wound, perhaps a snare around its trunk or its foot, something along those lines, or a piece of wire from an old fence, then yes, then we will indeed help. However, if it is due to sort of just a natural cause, say, for instance, we'll use the example, the zebra that got attacked by the lions but got away, sustained some serious injuries, we can't help for things like that. An elephant bull, 2 bulls that have perhaps been in a fight and one's been tusked through its ribs, we wouldn't be able to help. We'd have to let nature take its course. So for those types of things, it is very sad to watch. Trust us, we all know that, but we have to remember that it is nature, and nature is cruel, it's untamed. It does what it wants. There are no rules out here in the wilderness. Anything goes. So we must always just keep that in mind, of course. Come on, animals, where are you? We're not too far from Red Dam now. We're sort of doing the last little bit windy bits of Parallel Road North. It's quite a long road, and sadly we haven't had any sort of luck other than that sort of, what was it? Crested Franklin, I think it was. That was alarming. But that could have also been from a raptor. We can't rule out birds or a snake. If it was something like an impala, then maybe we would have had, would have been a little bit more motivated. What's wrong with me? I think I need to have a sip of water. All my words are very mumbly at the moment. Here we go. I think that's it. I probably have just not been drinking enough water, and my brain has got very tired all of a sudden. Come on, Shadow, pop your nose out. It's been ages since I've last seen you, and I really don't want to be given the runaround for a second time. And that's it. Even if you don't have any clue of an animal, it's really not a bad thing just to keep driving routes that they are known to use. Like I said, creatures of habit. If it is your lucky day, you're bound to bump into them. Right, we're about to pop out onto the road that takes us towards Red Dam. Am I? I think there's actually a link over here, but because the grass is so overgrown, it's actually concealed it quite a bit. Yeah. We'll just have to recreate it. Right. Now, Casey, you were wondering what animal I missed the most while I was away. I have to say the elephants. I really did miss them. No, this is not even a road. There must have been a sighting here. We'll go through here anyway. It's an old 2-track. Maybe we come across a leopard. I think the elephants, and I still haven't actually seen any elephants since I've been back. Senzo, we're going on an adventure, just by the way. I don't know where this old 2-track goes, but let's drive it. Let's see what we find. You never know. Sometimes these little roads are really good. Remember how often we used to see the nkuhumas on that spot just off Gari Katlan. We used to see them almost every afternoon. But we're going to go underneath this little shrub here. As you can see, we need to do a bit of ducking and diving. Tristan has found an egg case. I wonder from what animal?
Well, we have indeed. It is quite beautiful in this afternoon light. As we've come along this pathway, there's this gold light starting to come through now as it gets late in the afternoon. And there is an egg case on a piece of grass that is shining absolutely gold. So I'm going to try and move that a little bit so you can see. Now, this egg case is for... Let me get that out your way, Dave. There we go. This egg case is for a praying mantis or a mantid of some sort. Now, it's called an ootheca, and an ootheca basically is formed by a secretion from the mantis. So it secretes a foamy substance, and it eventually then hardens like that. And inside there will be lots and lots of eggs, and you cannot believe how many little mantids will come out of this single egg case. I've been fortunate enough to have seen one hatch, and there are hundreds of them that start emerging, and they're absolutely tiny when they first come out, and then they start to crawl around and they go up onto the grasses and away, and they all distribute out. But isn't it beautiful? Like I say, in this light, it just sort of looks like this golden egg on this bit of grass. Absolutely perfect. Right, so I believe Taylor's got a large animal out the water, so let's quickly go across to her.
He's disappearing very quickly. It is a hippopotamus. Our little sneaky road that we took definitely paid off. It was quite a large hippopotamus too. I wonder if it wasn't a bull. From this angle, though, he doesn't look particularly big. Now, he is quite nervous of us, unfortunately, so we're not going to push him too much. We're going to let him continue moving off into the distance. But he's just come out, so he must have just come out of Red Dam, because that's the closest watering hole. Or actually, there are a couple of big mud wallows in here. He could have quite easily been sitting in one of those too. But he's making use of the lovely afternoon, and he's decided to get out of the water a little bit earlier and beat everybody to, well, the grass buffet. But isn't that very cool? Something that we haven't seen for a very long time. And hopefully we'll start to see more of. Well, I think we definitely will. As soon as the grass starts to disappear, open up a bit more room, we'll be able to see a lot more. But this isn't very uncommon. I have actually seen many hippos out of the water during the day. In South Africa, it seems to be sort of quite a special sighting, and of course I love it. It's not every day, but when you live in Zambia or Botswana or areas like that, you have hippos out of the water all the time, on the banks of the river, coming up near the lodges, again, even in the dry season. I've watched hippos as a kagilia tree, the sausage tree, will drop its fruit. I've watched hippos run out of the water to snatch them up when there's not really much else to eat. Here they don't really have to worry about that too much unless you have a horrendous drought like we actually have just experienced. And I was watching hippos eating out of rhino middens and actually eating any that between rhino dung, and then I also watched them eat elephant dung too, which was very, very sad, because that just shows you how terrible the conditions were. But luckily, they've got all the nice long grass at the moment, and while it's still green, they're going to eat up as much as they can. Very cool though. Now I've got something else in front of me as our hippo has disappeared. Isn't that amazing? Very... BB, you've said that that's the first time you've ever seen a hippo out of the water. Fantastic. Congratulations. Wasn't that a good one? Hopefully we'll see a couple more. Now, Senza, what have you seen? Not sure. Senza's got his eyes out. But what I have got is just in front of me. You actually may see it shining, but straight in over there is a spider web. Look at that. Now, it's beautiful coloration at the moment. It looks like it's a bit gold, but it isn't gold. It's just because of the angle of the web and the light, but that's actually a tropical tent web spider that creates that, and that's actually quite a big one, because the tent web spiders aren't particularly large, and maybe that could be a goal for Tristan. Maybe he can try and find you a tropical tent web spider, one that actually has a spider in it. It's difficult for us to sort of get right close to that shrub, because there's a couple of sticks and things around it, but very cool nonetheless. I'm just looking, I can't see the spider in there. Couple of little insects here and there, but it's just amazing at the color at which that web is reflecting. It's beautiful. Isn't that stunning? Nature is truly amazing. What it might be doing is that spider actually might be sort of towards the base of the web, somewhere around in there, keeping out of the hot sun. Remember, most spiders are nocturnal, and they don't really like the sun too much. They'll be hiding. Oh, hang on. I wonder if that's it inside there. Here we go. You see on the top of it there, just at the base. I think that is the spider. Let's try and go a little bit closer now that we've got an idea. Let me pull my nose right as close to the car as I can, and we'll have a good look. let's take a closer look. I don't even know what you'd call the bottom piece, or that thick part. It looks sort of like where all the debris is in the spider's web. But yes, it does look like the spider's just sitting at the base of it. It's very tricky to see. There we go. How cool is that? Look at those colours off of the web. Oranges and pinks, gold, a bit of green. And isn't it amazing that you find those colours reflecting in the animal's eyes as well at night? Very cool. Right, that was amazing to see different types of colours reflecting off of there. Jamie has found herself another large animal, but this time it's having a drink.
He was having a drink, but speaking of things that are amazing to see, watching this massive bull elephant walk. Oh, hello! Hello, little munchkin. Sorry, I'm not obviously talking to the large elephant bull. That's bizarre. Sorry, that must have made absolutely no sense. It's just because an elephant calf popped out next to me. But this is a magnificent specimen. Look at him. He's gorgeous. But watching him walk up the dam wall was an interesting experience. This is so gorgeous. So utterly, utterly gorgeous. I'm glad we got elephants for Earth Day. It felt thoroughly appropriate. Or it feels thoroughly appropriate. Gorgeous. We're going to be taking a short break very soon. However, as you can see, you just never know what's around the next corner on a live safari, and we have so much more to show you. So join us after the break if you'd like to see how these elephants get on in just a few moments. And I really mean that, because I think this elephant bull is about to go and chase away this other elephant bull, and this cow is leading her little calf away to safety, away from these two behemoths that I think are about to have an altercation. Now, the young male is the one that you're looking at the moment, or the younger male. He looks to me like he might be coming into must. One of them is. I can smell it. I'm not quite sure how this situation is going to play out. Oh, submission. Oh, no wonder there's submission. Here comes it. There's the boy that's in must. Oh, wow. Look at this. Look to the left. That is magnificent. And he is in must. He is seriously in must. We could actually see quite a serious elephant fight here. Our beard, you said our elephant from earlier was dripping. That was just because he's been drinking. It's not because he's in must, and if he were, he would not be giving way to this absolute giant that has come in to the left. I can't reposition at the moment, unfortunately, but this is truly spectacular. Look at this guy. He's one of the biggest elephants I've seen here. He's beautiful. Absolutely massive tusks, dripping urine, and secreting heavily. And there you go, that sign of aggression, trunk on tusks, almost as though to emphasize just how big his tusks truly are and how massive he truly is. And just not being overtly aggressive, but just shoving his weight around a little bit, showing the boys who's boss. And there can be no doubt with this guy. This is a gentleman over 40 years old, I would say. There we go, trunk on the tusk again, and again the elephant on the right showing submissive behavior, twisting the bottom of his trunk anxiously. I thought he was big when we first came in. I can't even begin to give you the scale of this massive, massive gentleman. I knew I smelt him. And then if we sort of set the scene a little bit, to the right is our initial elephant, to the left is the one in must. Stuck between them is the elephant cow and her calf, the calf looking very confused and sniffing at the bigger bull, and then a slightly smaller bull that we wouldn't call small under any other circumstances, twisting and turning his trunk anxiously on the far left. A tableau of elephant life right there. Look at this. Look at the difference. Bull, young bull on the left, female in the middle, calf on the right, in the middle, and massive elephant bull in full must. But he's not a threat to this little one, even though he is in a sort of state of heightened testosterone. He's far more interested in showing the other males who's boss. Look at this. So, and it's a little male calf as well. Mommy, when I get bigger, am I going to be like that? Will I ever be this massive? Oh, look at that. I hope you're getting some spectacular screenshots. That is too gorgeous for words. I don't know why, but that actually made me slightly teary-eyed, the sight of that little calf next to that massive bull. Little one, your mum's gone in the opposite direction, sweetheart. No, little baby. No. Yes, Mummy's gone that way. Oh, shame. Come on, Mum, go back and fetch your baby. Go back and fetch your baby. That's okay, little sweetheart. There you go. Mommy's coming. Mommy's coming. You silly goose. You followed the wrong elephant. There you go. You're gonna run to Mum now. There you go. Here she is. That's the elephant you want to follow, you silly thing. There we go. There's our original bull, who's decided that he hasn't actually had enough to drink and that he wants to stop and have another quick drink. I think almost as though he's trying to pretend he wanted to be there all along and it wasn't because of the giant behind him that forced him into that position. I don't know where the rest of the herd is. I saw more than one female track on the road behind me, so I think that female and her calf were just stragglers. Melinda, you want to know how many elephants can be in an elephant herd? You're probably looking at an average of between 10 to 20 because it can be highly, highly variable. However, now hold on, what's happening here? Sorry, just come out a little bit, Rowan. That female's coming back now. I'm curious as to why. Calf's a bit young for her to be coming into estrus, but she's leading the baby back. And I'm not sure why. Odd. I think she's just bringing it for a drink. That's what she's doing. Sorry, but what you do get with elephants, and on a relatively regular basis in certain areas, is you get them gathering together in with lots of herds joining together. They're not territorial like lion prides. They will quite happily all gather together, often with sort of distant degrees of, oh, there's a hippo, relatedness. And all I'm going to do is reposition ever so slightly so that we're not staring right into the sun, but I still want to sit here and just really enjoy this moment. And sometimes it's nice to take it in from a distance because it really gives us a sense of the whole picture, including that hippopotamus that is thoroughly disgruntled by the presence of elephants at his waterhole. And there we go. I think that female's going to bring her calf down to drink. Oh, or not. I'm not sure. I wonder if she's not in estrus. That calf seems a bit young. It's a really very good question. While we watch these three bulls circling around the females, Shamama, you want to know if a bull elephant would recognize their own young. This is interesting. Sorry. Can we hold off on that question for 1 second? Because the bull on the right is smaller, but the bull on the left is acting defensively. Perhaps he just didn't want to have the disadvantage of having the slightly lower ground. You can see his indecision. There's the big must bull at the back. He actually doesn't seem too bothered by the actions of the youngsters. He's not particularly aggressive. There you go, one on the left turning to face the one on the right. Now, all of this is posturing, really, because if any of the males get to mate, it will be the male at the back. He is the biggest. There we go, meeting of trunks. Are we going to have a scuffle, or are we going to settle this amicably? Really, they are insignificant in comparison to him, despite their massive size. But Shamama was wondering, would elephant fathers recognize their own offspring? I don't know. I really don't, because they could be separate for so long and not ever see that female again once she's pregnant. And of course, the female's pregnant for 22 months. I don't know the answer to that question. My guess would be probably not. They probably wouldn't recognize their own youngsters. But I also strongly believe we don't know everything there is to know about elephants. So I could be wrong on that. This is so gorgeous. Yes, get to the fresh water underneath that yucky surface. There we go. That seems like a good place to suck up some water. Another big drink. Why is that female so unsettled? What's going on, girl? Sorry, let's go back to the musk bull and the female that's behind her. She's pacing backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. That baby seems too young for her to be an estrus again. And he doesn't seem to be all that interested in her. Maybe she's just lost track of the rest of the herd. Maybe the bull's got in the way. There she goes now. She's going off to the left there. A little bit further to the left. She's sort of disappearing at the... Oh, she's talking. Deep, low rumbles. Here she is. Little one in tow. See, she's backwards and forwards. Not sure. She might just have mislaid her herd, so to speak. Now she's coming back. Maybe she's just really thirsty and she wants to drink, but she doesn't want to put herself in a vulnerable position. Look how her head's up. She's interested. I just don't think she wants to be in a vulnerable position drinking on a downhill slope with these 3 bulls around, particularly not with little monkey over there. Oh, sweet little one. She's stepping forward to meet the musk bull. Now, Michelle, you want to know, when do elephants typically mate? They don't have a particular season. They're not seasonal breeders like wildebeest or like impala. They will breed throughout the year. There will, however, as you can imagine, be a peak in the number of calves born during the rainy season because there's just more food to feed both mum and eventually baby, but especially mum. Here she goes back again around the back of him. See, he's not that interested in her, even though he's at the height of must. You can see his temporal glands are actually swollen, and just look at the difference in size between him and that bull. And the bull in front of him is not that young either. Oh, he's missing the tip of his tail. How ridiculous. Looks like a little metronome. What an appropriate sighting for Earth Day. An old gentleman like this. And we do call them gentlemen. It's something that all of us as guides fall into a habit of doing, because that's the way that we think of them, the gentlemen of the bush, and most of the time they are. There's one or two grumpy chaps, just as there are grumpy older gentlemen, but for the most part they've got the most extraordinary manners. And they're so comfortable in themselves that they don't get bothered by the normal things that might affect a younger elephant. There you go, the two boys. Nice just to sit and take in the atmosphere for a little bit. Time for a dust bath. Andrew, because it feels like it's been a while since I last saw an elephant, you want to know if elephants will stay on the reserve the entire winter. They absolutely will, Andrew. There might be a little bit of movement around the reserve because, of course, these elephants aren't fenced in. They've got 4 million hectares of unfenced area, and let's be completely honest, what's a fence to an elephant anyway? So there might be a bit of seasonal movement. However, what we noticed last year during the drought was we actually got quite a few elephants moving through this particular spot. And that was because there's a lot of pumped water in this area, whereas the western edge of quarantine, that was such habit, the western edge of Kruger itself, which is on our eastern boundary, they've closed all of those water holes, whereas there's been a lot of water holes left open in this area. So we did get a huge influx of elephants during winter, which is our dry season. But it's seasonal. And sometimes the herds disappear for weeks at a time and we only have bulls, sometimes vice versa. But it's not often, no matter what time of the year it is, that we're treated to a big tusker, a big gentleman, as spectacular as he is. He is, however, wandering off into the truly beautiful autumn colours. And I'm very curious to know why Tristan is collecting more ticks.
Well, not collecting anything, but we are still tracking around looking for Hosanna, and where we are now is exactly where I had him on foot this morning. So I was tracking him this morning after we saw him with the vehicles, and I thought I would find him, and as I came around this bush here, he was lying right over here, and he then got up and ran a little bit away from me, and then he sat right here, not even 5 meters from me, watching me, and it was quite an amazing moment just to stand here and look at this leopard, and he's looking at me, and then we decided that it was time to probably get out of here, and I went down into this big eroded section, and he actually followed me along. It was quite amazing. So I wanted to come and just check where we last had him in case he just lay down in a thicket, and with the vehicle I couldn't find him. But it was amazing to watch how, as I kind of moved, every time I turned my back he would follow me. So he would kind of take a few steps, and then once I turned around and looked at him, he would then be like, stop, and almost look at me as though, why are you watching me? I want to follow you and you must carry on walking. And so I had to kind of make this little escape route down through this undulating terrain and hope that he didn't carry on following me for too far. That's exactly where I lost visual of him. So he was, the last position I saw him was just in this little gully over there where he was hiding in the grass watching me. Now, this is an interesting little area. This is right on the bank of a riverbed. And you can see we've got a massive amount of erosion. Now, the interesting thing about this is that this erosion has not actually been caused by people. So in a lot of places where we see erosion like this, it would have been from people putting roads in areas where they shouldn't be, and then there's this drainage that shouldn't be there. But this is actually a natural sort of receding of a little drainage line. So over time this is going to keep eroding, and every time water flows a little bit more will be eroded, and it'll eventually create another little drainage system that will go up onto a crest where there will not be enough drainage for the actual river to start flowing. But it's going to eventually form a tributary, which is really cool. And the reason why it does that is because it is all sandy. Alright, so the soil is not very compacted at all. It tends to break down really quickly, and so it's much easier for this area to be eroded. But we're going to carry on and just see. I want to just check if he didn't potentially cross over here somewhere. but it feels weird walking through here. It's almost like walking through a moonscape. It's like these clear sort of sandy patches with these ridges, and you can see where the water has flowed through here. It must be a really beautiful sight, especially at this time of the day when you've got this golden light. If there is indeed water flowing through here, it would be amazing to see. It would be almost like rivers of gold coming through this white sand. Must be absolutely spectacular. You can also see why Hosanna likes it in here. You can imagine for him, this is a great place to stalk animals. It's got long grass in sections, lots of places where you can hide, and if something like an impala or a duiker or a bushbuck walks in this area, it's going to be really easy for him to be able to stalk and get into places where he can hide away. It was actually quite funny. When I was trying to get away from him, I was so busy watching him that I didn't pay attention. And you can see on my left-hand side here, there's this big knobthorn, and I actually walked straight into the side. I got caught in this knobthorn while this leopard was watching me. It was very funny. I was even laughing at myself this morning, actually. Now, I don't see any signs of him walking this way. I'm sure he did come down and just check where I ended up going. He was very curious, so I'm hoping that maybe he's gone towards Twin Dams. It is that time of the day where it's going to be the time where leopards start making their way to water. It's been hot, and now is the time that they might go and have a drink and be a little bit more active. They also know quite a few animals are going to come down for a drink. So we're going to take a short break. We're going to go and check and see if we can't find this leopard maybe at the waterhole. I know Jamie's still with the elephant, so hopefully she's going to follow them while they carry on drinking. And I believe Taylor is on Arethusa, still trying to track Shadow and the cub. So we'll see you in a little bit. Good job, Darby. Right, so we're going to carry on, we're going to keep going, and I believe Taylor is with a warthog, which is probably what Hosanna would like to eat. So maybe there'll be some warthogs at Twin Dams, and you can sort of follow there, and we'll see if we can find him. And while we do that, Taylor with the warthogs.
We've done a good bit of driving around on Arethusa, but sadly not too much luck until now, as we have arrived at the Arethusa airstrip. And there seems to be an abundance of animals around at the moment. And, well, our first animal is a family of warthogs. And I'm almost certain that it's the same family of warthogs that we've seen on a number of different occasions. We've seen them with the jackals before. Actually, I think we've seen them and the jackals interacting a couple of times. And it's nice to watch these little pigs grow. Because the last time, which again was last cycle, obviously, I had a sighting around here. It was with one of the jackals and his family. And it's good to see that all 4 piglets are still around, because that's how many were here the last time. So that's good, and that's a few weeks ago. And every day that passes is a good sign. It just means that they've survived one more day out in Africa. Oh, sweet. Look how those 3 have all lined up. There's almost going to be 4 of them now. That's lovely, and especially with this beautiful light, too. Take a couple of screenshots. That's really lovely. Oh! Mom was not too happy with that little pig coming closer, and that's another thing that's going to start to change, is the attitude towards her little one. She's going to become less and less tolerant of them, because as they get older, they're going to get told to sort of do their own thing and stop suckling. And it seems like a oxpecker, a red-billed oxpecker, has joined the party and come through and have a mid-afternoon snack. No. Oh, it's going to have a dust bath. We go just to the left of the warthogs. Look at that. How cool is that? So that oxpecker has not come for an afternoon snack. It's actually come for a dust bath. You can see there's lots of impala and dung on the ground. A little oxpecker. I don't know how well of a spot you've chosen, because the ground over there doesn't look particularly sandy. Perhaps if you come out onto the road, you'll have a better chance of finding some loose soil, which you'll be able to dust yourself around in. Still looking. And that's probably a good lookout point as well. And a nice safe zone for that oxpecker sitting on top of the warthog. There you go. It's going to try its luck again, just to the left. That's a bit better. It obviously listened to me. It's now come out onto the road. You can see there's a tyre track. Keep going. Yes, keep coming a little bit closer. And you can see. You can see if the tyre tread is left in the ground, then the soil is definitely soft. Now, This is a really bad example of a bird dust bathing. As you can see, the bird is not actually creating a big cloud of dust like it should be, and those fine particles will then cover all the feathers of the bird, and they suffocate the parasites. Look at that, come on. I'm sorry, are you embarrassed now that I've said that you were not doing a very good job at demonstrating? You can try again. There we go, another one's come into the party. Let's see if you can do a better job. Now that looks like a juvenile. Can you see there how its bill's not completely red? So it's learning from one of the adults. And the youngsters hang around for quite some time. And exactly, monkey see, monkey do. That one's sort of doing a different technique. It must be a rock star, the oxpecker. As you can see, it was head banging quite a bit onto the ground. I think they're going to... What are you doing? You're going to go back to the warthog? You're feeling a bit nervous? But I love the way that they fluff themselves up. Birds bathing in the water and birds dust bathing are always incredible things. I think the hornbills, the yellow-billed hornbills, do dust bathing very well. And it's the most interesting track to have a look at. Oh, there we go. There's another adult that's come down. Must be a little family of oxpeckers that have come through. And they'll have a dust bath, I'm sure, and before the sun sets, they will find a tree to rest in. Now, Vanessa, you've said that this is the strangest oxpecker you've ever seen. It definitely is. Like I said, they're not doing a very good job. It's this is the most interesting dust bathing technique I've ever seen. But it gets easier when you head onto a looser soil. They need that nice sort of fluffy sand. These sand particles are a little bit too big. But I suppose it's doing the job, otherwise they wouldn't carry on doing it. Now, remember, we've just gone into an ad break, and we're about to come out of it in a moment. So when Kirst gives the last 10 seconds, I'll probably just sit quietly. We're almost there, but the warthogs are creeping closer. I must have an odor that these warthogs are enjoying, because they're all coming up to me. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you didn't go too far. And as you know, we're watching Safari Live. And, well, Tristan's still walking around. Jamie is hopefully going to find some lions. But since you last saw us, we have found warthogs. And they're, of course, grazing. How's that, Kirst? Okay? Need a bit of work. I'm very rusty. And I don't think I looked back into the camera. And I need to remember this stuff. Now, Emily, you're wondering why we are going into fake ad breaks. You're wondering if there's TV shows coming up. There are. Kirst, please correct me. It is the 14th and the 15th of May, isn't it? Or is it the 13th and 14th? I always do this. It's the 13th and 14th of May. We'll be doing TV shows again on Nat Geo Wild. So jot those dates down on your calendar. And once we get closer to the time and finalize everything, we'll let you know whether they're morning or afternoon safaris and when exactly they're going to be on. I'm sure that there will be a sort of schedule that will be put out so you know when we're having private rehearsals and all those things. So keep an eye out for that post. It'll probably happen in the next few weeks. But this is really special. Again, golden light, warthogs, oxpeckers. What is an oxpecker? That's a new bird. Terrible. My English is really not on form today, I must apologize. But Amy, thank you for saving me with that question. You're wondering why there are so many warthogs around. There seem to be a lot of them. Now, there are indeed, and I think we've just sort of caught on to where the family of warthogs like to hang around. Because for it was almost 6 weeks in a row, there was a family of warthogs that we saw every single afternoon on Quarantine, which is an open area near the research camp where we all live, back on Duma, of course. And here at the Arathusa airstrip, there's a family of warthogs, and this is them. They live around here too, and there's no need for them to go anywhere else. They've got good grazing out here in the open. They like to eat short grass, so you will see them in areas where the grass is shorter, and along the airstrips they do have to mow the grass down. You can't have any vegetation. I think it's about a 15 meter, maybe even a bit more, edge on each side that's got to be kept clear. You can imagine a warthog or anything could hide in that long grass and in the last minute run out onto the runway and cause a big accident with an aeroplane. So the warthogs love it around here, even down in the southern sector of the Sabi Sands. When I was guiding down there, we used to see lots of warthogs out here too. And it's a good spot. Oh, well, there we go. Warthogs going to the toilet. We might see a couple more use the luxury facilities. That's one thing I've noticed, yes, with warthogs. As soon as one, well, pops its tail up and does its business and looks very awkwardly into the distance, they all do it. It's amazing. Horses do the same thing. Domesticated horses, I've also noticed. Normally it's the adult that initiates it from what this little one. Well, you started it and everybody followed in your footsteps. Well done, little one. Oh, they're really tiny. That actually looks like was it a little boy or a little girl? No, maybe a little girl. It's so hard to tell when they're this age because their warts aren't very prominent. You've got to look very, very carefully. Hello? It's got so quiet and the sun is disappearing. Oh, wow. Actually, have a look at the sunset perfectly behind that tree. That is actually really incredible. I hope you're ready. How cool is that? This is a lovely screen grab to take, well, an opportunity of. Perhaps it could be your wallpaper. An Earth Day sunset, says Kirst. It definitely is. Isn't that beautiful? Now, normally you will try and sort of drive and position yourself to get a photo like this, but, well, I think we just got very lucky today. And it is going to be a beautiful sunset because there's a couple of cirrus clouds just off to the right. And once that sun drops below the horizon and you get those last colors, I think they're going to go a lovely pink, purple, orange, yellowish color. All the colors of the rainbow will be out tonight. But isn't that spectacular? And this is something that you can't get sick of. So I don't even mind going out and not particularly having a busy game drive. Because when you get something like this is normally where I would say to my guests, right, sundowner time, everybody out and pour a round of drinks, get the snacks out, and just enjoy the last sounds. I'm actually going to sit quietly because there's quite a few ground-dwelling birds flying around here. So have a little listen as to what's going on. And now they've gone all quiet. Typical. I think I'm just going to have to stop doing that for a while until the animals start listening to me and not making me look like a fool. I think they quite enjoy that, though. And I suppose anything to do with animals you have to have a sense of humor about, because most of the time nothing goes to plan. And especially out here in the wild, where, well, we really have no say. The animals just do what they like. And if you're at the right place at the right time, you see something amazing. But that was a lovely sunset, though, I think. I think that was really beautiful. We'll keep an eye on it, and if it gets even better, we'll most definitely take another look. Rachel, aren't you so lovely? You've said that this is the best sunset you have ever seen. We'll keep on watching, Rachel, because I can tell you, we get so lucky and we see some spectacular things. Now, let's go around the corner. Son, you keep on getting better. There's some wildebeest up ahead too. We'll go and say hello to them. Thank you, warthogs, you were lovely. Very peaceful here. I think I've seen a whole of 2 other cars today, which is really nice. I don't know where everybody is driving around. Oh, now after staring into the sun, sort of have that sort of bit disorientated. Now the warthogs are going into the bushes, but I wonder if they're anywhere near the quarry, because there's a little bit of water at the quarry. And if you remember, we did have a sighting of the Styx lioness with her 2 cubs and 2 lionesses, sorry, from the Styx Pride and a Birmingham boy a couple of weeks back. They were just in here. Hello, guys. Let's see, I don't think they're anywhere, maybe they're near the quarry? Oh yes, they are too. You can just see them running off. We'll keep going, because we'll go down into the quarry. You see them all walking in line there? It's okay, little one. So I think that's exactly where they're going. I think they are indeed going to have a drink. Bless you, were you sneezing? Senzel's got the sneezes. At least it's somebody else for a change and not me. I haven't actually sneezed once on drive. Bless you. Right, let's see if there is any water left in here. Oh, there's impala around too, I suppose, but I don't know why they wouldn't just go and drink from the watering hole behind us, because it's a nice little pan there. Oh well, maybe they're just coming for the view. Hi guys. There's plenty of water in here, a lot more water than there was the last time that I was around here. Here we go. You lot have all chosen a difficult spot to go and drink. You've got to go down some steep slopes, don't you? Look, that's beautiful. Bless you. Senzel's on a roll today. Are you surviving? What's making you sneeze? He's not sure. We'll have to test. We'll rub grass under his nose. We will... What else can we do that makes you sneeze? We'll put a hairy caterpillar on you and see if that makes you sneeze. No, I'm just teasing. We won't see. Senzel's not giving me the evil eye. Don't worry. I only put caterpillars on my own face, not anyone else's. Isn't this fantastic? So it is. These wildebeest, as well as the impala, just in the back of the long grass, are coming down to have a drink. Something did spook them, though, whether it was Senzel sneezes or something else. Maybe a change of the wind, and they picked up a scent of something. Now they don't seem to be coming down, but we'll just wait patiently. And eventually, one will be brave enough to lead them all down the steep bank. Don't worry, this is not the Mara. There are no giant crocodiles lurking in this pool of water, and at least they don't have a raging river to cross. But you know, they're always cautious when they come down to an area where there is water, especially when there's lots of long grass around and it makes it difficult to see anything. Winter's a bit easier when it's a bit more open. Come on, guys. Come down for us. I've just spoken all these lovely words, and now you're going to not go down. Are you? No? I thought what it was, and it's decided it's just going to go and join up with the rest. Now I wonder where they're off to, because typically they come out into the open areas just before it gets dark, but it seems as though they're doing the complete opposite. They're walking north into the thicker vegetation, which is a little bit risky because it's very, very dense in there. They wouldn't be able to see a lion coming. They could easily hide away in that long grass, and so could a leopard. So a leopard would be going for the impala, and maybe one of the young wildebeest if it was a big male leopard. But other than that, it's very, very quiet out here tonight. Very, very peaceful. I think what we're going to do is we're going to try and find another view of the sunset. It's looking better and better. But before we do that, Tristan is still on the hunt for some big cats. I wonder if he's had any luck.
Well, we haven't had any luck, unfortunately, Taylor, and from where we are, we're not going to get much of a sunset either. It's a little bit deep down here, and there's not really too many places where we can actually see the sun, but we're still looking around and still checking. I haven't found any further signs of Asana. The only track we found is for Shungile, nothing for Asana, so I was thinking that he's somewhere around here. I remember this morning when I drove out of this area and I left, all the francolins were sitting up in a tree, and that would have been because that something had disturbed them. Francolins generally don't sit in trees that late in the morning unless there's some sort of predator that's come from the ground and has disturbed them. So I'm in the area where I had those francolins, but still as yet there's nothing that I can see. The nice thing is, though, is that where we've walked today has been spectacular. So Dave was saying to me that he really has enjoyed today because we've walked through all these beautiful areas across the riverbeds. There's been some massive trees that we've come across. It's been really so beautiful, and the fact that we have that beautiful afternoon light coming through was just really spectacular. So it's been a really nice sort of walk through the Moluwati. Now, these are quite interesting. So as you can see here, we have a wild cucumber. Now, this looks like a toy out of a kid's store. It almost looks like those sort of toys that kids get that are made of silicone. And, sorry, David, I'm shaking it, but if you see, look, the spikes are soft. They almost feel silicone-y in their sort of spikiness, so they're actually not hard at all, which is quite cool. Now, if I cut this open, you'll see that the seeds are very similar to that of a cucumber, so I'll try and cut it open for you so you can actually see what it looks like inside. I have heard of people eating them. I'm not so sure myself. Generally, when things are brightly colored like this, and we end up with a situation where monkeys don't eat them, then it's generally a sign that you shouldn't actually. And when things foam when you cut them, it doesn't inspire much confidence. but I have met one or two people that have eaten them, and they were quite crazy, so maybe that's why. Now, you can see when I open it up, so it's got quite a bit of juice inside it, and it's very fleshy, just like a cucumber would be, and you can see the seeds that are there, and then that sort of green flesh inside. But like I say, if you see things like monkeys not eating this fruit, and this is so brightly colored that there's no ways that they would be able to miss it, then you know that it's probably not something that you should actually consume. You can also see that it is a vine. Alright, so it's not an actual plant, it's a vine that will grow. You often find these in small shrubs, so like guarri bushes and varying other trees along wet areas. You'll find them. You see them sometimes on the ground as well, growing in amongst disturbed areas like where we are now. A nice little find, adds a bit of color to the otherwise sort of drab bush that we're heading into. Now that we're going into winter, the bush is becoming more and more drab, and so these bright yellow balls just kind of stick out in the long grass. So, Lindsay, you're wondering about termite mounds and whether they're active or dormant. Well, generally with the termite mound, to tell if it's active, you'll see some kind of building that's taken place. So there'll be some sort of pattern on top that will have darker soil, and it will generally be quite open so that there can be some ventilation, and you'll see where they are still currently building, so little darker particles of soil, which is the new soil that's been packed onto it. Termite mounds that are not active tend to be very full of vegetation, so you'll find long grass all over it, big trees that have come out of it, and that's because if there was termites in there, they would have covered it all the time with particles of soil, and the grass would have really struggled to come through that. And so you'll find that anywhere where you've got a lot of grass on a termite mound, then generally that mound is no longer active at that time. Unfortunately, I don't have any ones close by that I can show you. The soil that I was on just now is actually from where they dug out some of the mud from the dams that had clogged up over the flooding years. So that's why I was on that. But in the sort of normal termite mounds, you'll find there will be a little bit of vegetation around them, and they won't be nearly as big as what we saw there. Now, where are you, Hosanna? I know you're here somewhere. It would be wonderful if we could find him. Maybe he's gone up towards Chelapan and into that direction. Now, we're going to try and see if we can't follow there. And while we take a short little break, I'm going to carry on in my last-ditched effort for Hosanna. I believe Jamie is still with elephants, so we'll see you all in a little bit. Right, guys, so we are still carrying on. Like I say, it's a last-ditch effort to try and find Hosanna somewhere in this jungle that we're in. It is spectacularly beautiful, but it is really not an easy place to find a leopard. You can imagine he can be sitting right here, and we would have walked right past him. It really is super dense in here, so not a great place to be walking at this time of the night. We're going to try and see if we can't get to somewhere a little bit more open. It's a bit thick to be messing around now when it's starting to get a little bit more dark and dingy. I'm going to start making my way up towards Chelapan's in case he's gone up that way. And while we do that, I believe Jamie is all the way on Cheetah Plains, and she should have a spectacular view of this impressive sunset.
I don't, I'm afraid. I don't have a spectacular view. If you'd like to see proof of that, I will show you our view. I mean, it beats, buildings and stuff, but this is the view that we have at the moment. There's some trees over there, if you look to the left. And if you look to the right, there's some trees over there as well. So I wouldn't describe our view as the most breathtaking that we could have out here, but as I said, it beats buildings, skyscrapers and traffic and tarred roads. But what we're currently doing is twiddling our thumbs between Cheetah Plains and Chitwa and waiting for our opportunity to go and visit the Styx, because apparently I have heard a rumor that the Styx have actually got their smallest new additions to the pride with them. So those 4 new cubs that I've seen pictures of but have yet to see are apparently with them as we speak. And that's what I'm hoping to get us a chance to see by the end of this sunset safari. But what that means, because I have to kind of stay close so I can hear the game drive radio so that the other guides can call me in when needed. So what that means is we're doing little loops where I know I get signal, pretty much. And it does mean that I'm going to have to keep going quiet, because I'm going to have to keep listening so I don't miss our opportunity to come in, because that would be truly devastating. I would hate for that to happen to us. So if I go silent with a somewhat gormless expression on my face, it's because I'm listening. I really hope we get to see them. It would be so exciting. Be something exciting to show to Rohan as well. And Earth Day, new little lion cubs. That's what I'm hoping to see. And it's getting cool and dark, which means they're going to be all playful and making those little ow, ow noises that our Nkahuma cubs don't really make all that much anymore. I was watching some old footage of when those cubs were so tiny. It made me feel very, very nostalgic. I was hoping that the massive warthog that lives around here might be out and about, but I actually think it's probably almost time for warthogs. They're going to start moving into their burrows. Oh, by the way, Tristan was talking about termite mounds. This is one of the biggest termite mounds that we have out here, and the biggest termite mounds are very much found in this particular part of our Traverse area. Now, what I would love to do is get out and show you just how large it is, but should I do that, I might miss the call to come into the sighting, and I don't want to do that either. I've kind of just got to stay put for now. I can't take my earpiece out, otherwise I might miss it. But that termite mound is utterly enormous. It's probably it's at least a story high. Just to give you a rough perspective, possibly even slightly more. I wonder how many years went into the construction of that termite mound. Decades, I imagine. Decades and decades. And I have another update for you. Tundi is on a kill. I don't know what kill it is, but she's with Tumba just to the south of where we can go. So just to the south of Chitwa. Okay. Where shall we go next? Round in a circle is where we shall go. And hello to Sharon, good morning. While we wait patiently for our chance to go into a cat sighting, you want to know which birds would be the ones to call out when the big cats are around. There's quite a few of them. Guinea fowl are a big one, especially because leopards do like to catch and to eat guinea fowl. Spur fowl of Franklin's, like the ones that you saw with Taylor with the babies. I think it was during the pre-drive, actually, of the Sunset Safari. Go-away birds. Queen. Queen. Grey go-away birds, they make that sound when they see a cat. What else? Cisticolas. The rattling cisticolas often make that sound in the bushes, hiding away. And actually quite a few of the other bird species will also make alarm calls. Robins and batises, all those sorts of things make quite an indistinct, it's not as clear as something like a Franklin or a guinea fowl, but it is sort of quiet little harsh rattles of alarm. So there's quite a few bird species. The difficulty is sometimes those birds alarm at us. Now you can't always assume that they're alarm calling at a cat, but that is one of the assumptions that you can make. It might be a bird of prey, it could be a snake, it could be a slender mongoose, it could be any of those things. Alright, circuit number 2. Back around we go. Is this the road I took last time? No. Marvellous. Now, our beard, you would like to know if the cameraman doesn't also hear the game drive radio. No, our beard, they don't. It's just us. It is a huge amount of stimulation that happens. Bear in mind we've got two voices, sometimes three, coming through our, there you go, that's the expression, coming through our earpiece. One is the director, who is feeding us questions and telling us what, whether to send you across to somebody else or coming across to us, counting us in, and the other is the game drive radio. It wouldn't be very helpful for the poor cameraman who has to deal with all sorts of other things and concentrate on all sorts of other things and help us look for animals, to then have to try and concentrate on filtering that out as well. At least for us as guides, it's a familiar language. We've all been guides in other areas before, we've all worked with a game drive radio before, so we don't worry too much about having to interpret what they say, especially because a lot of it comes through in Shangaan or game drive radio lingo, which isn't always all that easy to understand. It's definitely getting dark and I need to concentrate, so let me send you across so you can join Tristan on his stroll home.
We are indeed on our way home. It's getting very dark and dingy, so we've grouped together in a tight-knit group. Herbie's protecting us from the elements and the dangerous animals that are out here. No, I'm just kidding, but Herbie is staying close now because it's getting a little bit darker. Say hello, Herbie. Yeah. So like I was saying, it is starting to get a bit darker, and as we're walking towards Chelapan, buffalo were not too far from here when we started, and so we're just making sure, and so Herbie's staying close in case the buffalo are close by at the pan itself. And we were just making a joke now, wouldn't it be funny if we came along and we found little Shongile exactly where we started and she was just sitting waiting for us to come back? That would be an ironic case of events, but alas, it does not look like that's the case. Sorry, Dave. That's okay. Be careful, there's a little unevenness here. So as you can see, this is from where it was raining, so the vehicle's going through this area. It's a very sensitive type of soil, so it gets quite wet there and it creates ruts, which is apparently a danger for cameramen if you're walking backwards. Now, unfortunately, it's been one of those afternoons where we've followed a few tracks, but we haven't seen too much in the way of the cats themselves, but we have had such a beautiful afternoon with so many nice trees and beautiful lights, so it's been spectacular. Right, we're going to go back to Taylor, who I believe is out and about and still on her cat search, and we're probably going to go and head home because Dave is hungry and he's asking where Amanda's cooking is, so that's where we're off to. So we'll see you all tomorrow morning.
Between David and Connor, I feel as though those two men are always hungry. That's funny. But yes, we are still searching for cats, but any luck at all. I got a bit excited because some of the wildebeest started getting quite excited. Well, not excited, a little bit nervous actually. I got excited, but sadly, jump impala, whee! Did you see them all springing about? That's always fun when they run across the road like that. But here we go, we've got some bounding impala. Let's see if they're going to carry on just up ahead. This is coming off just to the right. I suspect that a guide has stopped around the corner and is having a sundowner. There they go. Let's see if they all come on leaping this way. So I think that's why they're a bit jumpy. They can probably hear those voices. And maybe there have been a couple of guests who have used the luxury facilities and gone wandering. And well, you can imagine that can definitely spook an impala. They always snort at us. Let's see if we can see them. Where is the sundowner stop? It's a bit far away, just down in the distance in an open clearing. Impala? There's an entire herd of them here. This is actually lovely. We haven't looked at any impala today. Though we haven't seen very many either. Hello guys. And of course this is what happens quite often when the impala do get a little bit nervous, and it's because of the time of the day. The light is fading. They're actually all bounding down there. You can see them running down this way. So they're all coming from the left and going to the right. We might get to see them jump a bit. There they come. So there's one open gap. And that's where the others ran through. And like we often see with the impala, normally when one starts to run, they all bound together and do the same thing. Come on now. Here they come. Here, you see they're coming slowly, slowly. Yes, now run and jump and do what you were doing 2 seconds ago. No, because the camera's on them. Typical. But as I was saying, the first thing that they will tend to do, instead of stopping and snorting, because the light is fading and it becomes a little bit more difficult for them to see, they might resort to just jumping straight off the bat instead of sort of assessing the situation. But I don't blame them. I think I'd be a little bit more cautious in the fading light and rather do a big leap away than wait until it's too late. But they look fairly relaxed now. There they go again, a couple of them picking up the pace. No, and now most of them have disappeared. Okay, they're all watching. They just stopped behind the bushes where we couldn't see them. They were watching the guests have sundowners. Right, let's keep going. My goodness, the light is fading. Let's put some lights on. Time, yeah, I suppose it works. We'll get the spotlight out in a moment. I don't think it's quite dark enough just yet for a spotlight. But we're going to move off of Arathusa now. So we're going to go back down this way. And then I think we'll pop on to Djuma. We'll just check. I think we might do a little boundary patrol. Perhaps we'll go back down Gari Main towards Twin Dams and have a look around there just to make sure that Shongile or Hosana haven't popped out. It would not surprise me that before we even do that, we've got some birds just running around on the road. It's getting quite dark. Who have we got there? Natal spurfowls, by the looks of it, with their beautiful patterns on their back. Have you ever noticed they've got quite dark markings throughout their feathers? It almost looks very mottled in colour, which is great for camouflage. Are you not going to follow the rest and move off of the road? Are you playing chicken? I feel like that's a very dangerous game to play with me. I'm not a very good driver. No, I think it knows. It must have heard about my horrific driving and is frightened and decided to run off. Good choice. Wise decision. Little spurfowl. Okay. Now we need a cat. We've been patient. We've spent time with all the smaller things this afternoon. We haven't skimmed over anything. So I think that we've earned a big cat sighting, and I'm really hoping, crossing all my toes and my fingers, that it is a Birmingham lion. That's what I would really like to see. Or Jamie. Whoever can get one, that would be really cool, but I'd be quite happy to see one of those. Or, what would make me happy too is to watch Hosana and Shongile. I haven't seen them together for a very long time. So it'd be nice to see what's sort of developing in that, because I don't know for how long Shongile will tolerate Hosana. It'll be interesting, because I think she's probably going to get a bit sick of him and tell him to move on and sort of find a place for his own, especially if she does catch something. We know how he likes to hog kills, and she really cannot afford losing her kill to her brother, who will just gobble the entire thing up and dominate on the carcass because, well, he's much bigger than her. So we'll just have to see what develops. Oh. You're wondering, what do I think has happened to her? Do I think that something has killed her? You know, it's a tough thing to say. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know around. And because even if she has what a lot of you have seen mating, I know in December, we would still see signs of her. She wouldn't just vanish. We would still see her footprint. She's still got to go out and hunt, and that's something we haven't been seeing, is adult leopard tracks in her favorite areas. Now, I know Torchwood hasn't been driven sort of extensively like how many people around. But now we've had Easter, we've had all the owners out, we've had many different people driving in these areas that maybe we weren't driving in, and if they'd seen something, They're just as worried as us, but we'll continue this conversation in a moment. We're just going through a bad signal spot, so I'm going to send you across to Jamie very quickly and see, well, I know she had something planned. We'll see if that plan is working out.
I do have something planned, and the plan is working out fine. It's going kind of according to plan. There was just a slight confusion, so we're waiting for our turn to get into the sighting. We're not far from it at all, so when it is our turn, we'll be able to zip in there, and we've got our infrared all ready and set up. So exciting stuff. I can't wait to go and join them. Hopefully, we might even get a bit of a roar before the end of the sunset safari. But for now, it does mean some grade A lurking. I am lurking. That's exactly what I am doing. You never know. Moments like this have been moments where people have seen pangolin. I could see a pangolin while I'm lurking waiting for a lion sighting. Stranger things have happened. My first pangolin I found when I was out tracking a leopard. Or an aardvark. Anything like that. I bet Cheetah Plains has lots of aardvarks. It's certainly got lots of termites. Just at that point where it's time to start spotlighting the area. What shall we see this evening? Hopefully something to keep us entertained on this lonely stretch of road that I've driven 3 times, patiently waiting, hoping, dreaming, picturing little tiny lion faces to keep me going. Let us see. Maybe we'll find a chameleon while we wait. Come on, everybody. I would like to see a porcupine. I have a feeling that Cheetah Plains would be really, very, really good for nocturnal animals. We don't really drive there all that much in the evening, but we've seen caracal there, we've seen serval there, we've seen a pangolin there. Ooh. I'm going to stop the car for this one, because it's a really good point. Paulie, you want to know why it is that we would show pangolin, which are one of the most critically endangered and one of the most persecuted animal species in the world, but we won't show rhino? And one of the big answers to that is because a rhino is, just by its sheer nature, that much easier to track. So having a starting point, which in theory, showing them on a live safari might do. Poaching generally comes from inside information, so that information is getting out regardless. But however, if we were to show a rhino, and if poachers were to glean its position from our live safari, it would be much easier to track down than something like a pangolin. Pangolin would be next to impossible for people to find out here. Generally, a lot of the trafficked pangolins are ones that are found along the fence line. They are the ones that are the most easily caught. And then the various species of pangolin further up into Africa and in Asia as well. It's a valid point. You raise a good point. My suggestion would be that it would be next to impossible, after gleaning a pangolin's position on these live safaris, to then go out and actually find said pangolin in that way. Sorry, time to listen. Oh my goodness. We're nearly there, guys. We're nearly there. Patience is always a virtue out here. There's still 3 people in that sighting, so we've still got to wait. And if all else fails, we'll try again tomorrow morning. But all else hasn't failed yet. It's an interesting question, the pangolin question. There's definitely good thinking. As as you know, I'm waiting patiently for our turn to go and see these lions. While we sit and wait patiently, it seems as though Taylor's found some better signal.
I've got better signal, and Jamie, you're incredible for having the patience of waiting and doing A-grade lurking. I find that very funny because every single guide knows exactly what you're talking about. We've all done it before. But just before we lost signal, we were obviously chatting about Karula, and I would love to finish this discussion. We all have, of course, different opinions, and we really will never know what has happened or where she has gone. But I just feel though every single day that we go without seeing her, it's a little bit hard to sort of keep fighting that hope, and I hope that she does pop up somewhere. No one ever, not one of us, want to see that beautiful leopard go. She's given us the most amazing sighting, but we are going to have to come to sort of realization that potentially something could have nabbed her. What though, I'm not sure. It's just very strange that we have gone from not seeing any sign of her, or seeing her almost every single day, or knowing exactly where she's been walking around, to seeing nothing at all. But she's been an incredible leopard. She has raised many, many cubs that will carry on her legacy too. But let's keep our fingers crossed. I reckon we can still keep the hope going for a little bit longer. And last night, my heart sank to the bottom of my feet when I saw Hosanna, because I first saw his backside, and he doesn't look like a big male leopard yet. He hasn't put on the muscle in his shoulder and around his neck since he's grown so much. He's sort of quite slender, and it just looked exactly like Karula. And I promise you, I almost had tears in my eyes going, oh, no ways. And I don't think I would have been able to have said anything if it was her. I would have been so excited. But it wasn't. But at least we know that her two offspring are doing very well without her. But I hope that she does pop up somewhere. But we'll see. Nobody can say for sure. Now we are heading back down to the last sort of area where Hosanna and Shongile were seen. I know that they love it around Shibamu, and Tristan was saying that he had some tracks sort of heading down towards Treehouse Dam. So maybe, I think we'll go along the boundary first, get to Twin Dams, and then come back a route towards Treehouse Dam and have a look there. Claus Gate, you said that there's a vervet monkey alarming around the Djuma Dam camp. That's very interesting. What we'll do is we'll do a quick little search here. Maybe then I think I'm going to stick to my guns, and I think I'm going to continue going down this way, and then come back around to check Treehouse Dam, and then we'll head back around that side. I just want to do one loop because this seems to be the hour that our two favorite leopard cubs, or juveniles, I suppose they're sub-adults, are sort of most active. So we might bump into them, and they like to sort of cross between Little Gowrie and Djuma. That's their routes at the moment, so you could easily miss them. So I'm also checking for tracks along the ground, but nothing just yet. Still a little bit quiet. I'm listening out for any birds alarming. We don't really see too many monkeys and baboons around here. Occasional trooper baboons, but none today, so I don't know if we'll hear any monkeys alarming. So we'll just have to rely on the birds and hopefully the impala. But I better keep checking behind me, because those two have a habit of sort of crossing onto the road once you've just driven past it, and then they go over your tracks. It's like their favorite trick to sort of learn. But we'll just keep checking here. This fire break is also a good spot. We've seen them a number of times between Shibamu and Twin Dams. Now, Kat in Tampa, you said that you're wondering if it's possible that Karula could have gone off to Hollywood with all the fame that she's sort of received from the last TV shows. Possibly. And you know, it is always good to have a sense of humor about these things. Nothing lives forever. Unfortunately, it's the same thing as having pets at home. You become so attached to them, but in the end, you know at the back of your head that they're not going to live forever, because, well, there's no water for that you can drink that will keep you young and youthful, unfortunately. And It's good to have a sense of humor about it. It's good to be able to laugh. I'm not saying laugh at Karula, please don't get me wrong, but I think we must remember all the good times that we've had and all the amazing sightings that she has brought us. And we'll now look at the potential that she's created. Thandi, Shadow, Hosana, Shongile, Quarantine, all of them. They're all going to, like I said, they're going to carry on with her legacy, and we still are going to talk about her all the time. She's not going to be forgotten. She was the most incredible leopard, easily the most famous leopard archer, and she'll never be forgotten. She'll be a legend of the Sabi Sand, a leopard that people in 10 years, when they come to work in the Sabi Sand, and especially in the northern section, they'll hear her name and they'll know all about her. So just remember that. But like I said, maybe she's going to pop up in front of the road, and then I'll be so happy. I'll probably have tears in my eyes, and I'm sure a lot of you as well watching this will have tears of joy, which will be fantastic. But we'll just have to wait and see. But there's other creatures of the night we could bump into too. Chameleons, of course, owls. We're still looking for a puff adder. Senzo has not seen his first snake yet, so we're still trying to complete the list of firsts for Senzo too. But it's been a lovely, peaceful, quiet afternoon out here on safari. It's been perfect weather, absolutely perfect weather. All right, so we're going to go across now. We're actually coming up to Twin Dam, so we're going to have a scratch around there. But Jamie, well, apparently her nickname this afternoon is Lurky Lou. So let's go and see how Lurky Lou is doing.
Lurky Lou has lurked aplenty and has found her way into the sighting. Do you want to know the wonderful news? The grass is so long that I actually can't show you a lion right now. So you're just going to have to hang 10 for a little bit, and I'm going to try and get us around to the opposite side, and hopefully that will solve our problem of the fact I can't show you a lion. I'm really sorry, I can't see them myself. They're in here somewhere, but I can't actually see them. Just hold on one moment. I'm just going to wait for the other vehicle to reposition. It's just one of those things. I'm so excited about showing you the lions. We finally got here. We've got our infrared all set up. And I don't even know where this lion is. I can't see them. Oh, I thought somebody was roaring. There's lots of their waterbuck still left. I drove past it on my way through. They've killed a waterbuck, and there's lots and lots left, which is marvelous for us because it means there's a good chance they're going to be here tomorrow. I just want to see if this person in front of me wants to reposition. I think I'm going to go and nick that other spot. Just make sure I'm not going to drive into a line while I do that. Oh dear. There is a certain inevitability to live wildlife filming. Welcome to Lady Starfire. Hi, there's a lion next to me. I missed her the first time round. Hello, girl. There's a lion very much right next to me. I still can't see her properly, though. Let me show you how close she is and give you an idea of the darkness and so on. Sorry, hold on, Lady Starfire. Hold on to that thought for 1 second. I want to show you where our lioness is. She's here. Right here. And is that her foot or is that a cub? I think that's her foot. And there we go. There's one Styx lioness. You can see how careful we have to be driving around in the dark like this because they are so hidden. So hidden. That's why I made sure to switch on my lights whilst going backwards. Now, Lady Starfire, sorry, you want to know if there's a time limit to a sighting. It depends. It depends on what the sighting is. It depends on what's happening. It depends upon how many people would like to go and see it. As a general rule, the maximum time limit is 20 minutes. However, that is flexible. Especially, there is an unspoken code amongst guides that if you have spent 2 hours or something tracking this animal on foot and you found them eventually, you will not be pushed out of your own sighting because you're the person who's actually put the work in. So there is that to it. If it is a sighting where it's in an area where you get lots of vehicles, like Arethusa, for example, then we try and be respectful as much as we possibly can. So you rotate in, you rotate out, whatever you can do to make everybody's lives easier, because there's a lioness. Sorry, I moved my spotlight without warning. She's going to go and feed. Hey, gorgeous. Here we go, she's on her way. Oh, she's going to move behind us, so I don't think we should switch to infrared just yet. Just because I'm going to have to reposition, so I'm going to have to keep my lights on in a moment while we watch them go to feed. There's no sign of any of the small cubs. I think that was actually not the case. I think it's just the two females here. I don't see any sign of small cubs. I don't see any sign of a male. It might have been a separate sighting somewhere else outside of our traverse area that they called in. Here we go. Here comes our lioness up. Second lioness is going off to feed off her waterbuck. Oh! I wondered what that sound was. She's just urinating. Empty up her bladder. I suppose all the more room for waterbuck food. Hi, big girl. I have not seen you in a very, very long time. How are the babies? I'm just going to wait for her to move. I can't start the vehicle now, she'll get a fright. The Styx are slightly more skittish than the Nkuhumas, interestingly enough. Of course, now as I say that, I really need to sneeze, but I'm going to try and hold it. She's very full, looking across at her sister, or pride mate at least. And she's going to go make her way to join her. There she goes. Okay, we're just going to wait for her. She's moving right behind the vehicle. Yo! She's enormous! Oh, don't do... Oh. Okay. Alright. If you can lie right behind the vehicle, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Just to give you an idea, I can't even turn my back lights on. She's about... Okay, she's far enough away that we could actually turn the vehicle on without startling her. But she has positioned herself right behind us. We're going to do some shuffling around so we can see what these lionesses are going to get up to. Let's head over to Taylor and see how Juma's treating her in the dark.
Very dark. No stars just yet. Oh no, that's nonsense. There are a couple of stars that are out already, but we've actually changed our plan and we're heading straight towards the dam. We're not far now, we're just about to go through this little dip on Twin Dams Road, and then we will get to the little sneaky road, and then Wahlberg's, and then of course, well, the dam. So we're just going to check along here, because we did of course hear that there were monkeys alarming at the Djuma Dam. I'm not sure if they're still alarming now, but we'll have a scratch around there. Again, there's some lovely sandy roads, so we'll definitely be able to see tracks. Hasn't been too many guides driving around here today. It seems as though everybody's been elsewhere. Oh, I must tell you, I did hear on the radio earlier that, and hopefully one of the guides will go to Cheetah Plains in the morning, but the Cheetah brothers were on their way back from, they were in Buffelshoek, and then they were crossing onto Torchwood, which is great because it means that they're going back south. So hopefully the two boys make it safely back towards Cheetah Plains, and who knows, there could be a surprise waiting on the big open area for us all first thing tomorrow morning. But I think tomorrow morning I'm actually walking, so it will have to be Tristan and James. I think, yeah, Tristan and James will be driving in the morning, so they can go and have a look. Tristan is confirming that I am indeed correct. Thank you, Tristan. I have a memory of a goldfish for things like that. It's absolutely hopeless. Oh, scrub hair. No, won't spend... That is not happening. Everybody wants me to sing Happy Birthday, Marilyn Monroe style, for Byron, but I'm not going to. I'm not dealing with this peer pressure. I do ridiculous things all the time. Maybe Jamie will sing Happy Birthday. But we're looking at a beautiful scrub hare. As you can see, look at it. Moving its ears around. There's some nightjars calling too, which is actually quite beautiful. And I wonder if the scrub hare is listening to them call. Have a little listen. Why do they do that? Every single time I stop talking, it goes completely quiet. Now there's a turtle dove. He's actually listening to them. That's so funny. There's the nightjar. Beautiful. Big hair, I wish I had ears like yours this evening to listen to all the beautiful calls, but now he's taking a break from listening to everything that's out and about and having a quick groom. Do you see how it sort of licked its paws, very much like a lion does, sort of wets the hair and then uses its little feet to rub around its face. That'll smooth the hair out quite nicely. The hair on the hair. Massive ears. This one's actually a lovely colour. You see how it's sort of got the darker dapple, not dapples, I wouldn't say dapples. That's a strong way to describe that, but the sort of mottling on the back of its coat and quite a white stomach. I didn't really notice how much colour a scrub hare actually has on it. We don't often get to see them very often during the day. And this one is being a particularly good example of a hare, the way that it's sitting on its bottom with its big, powerful hindquarters, which enables them to run very quickly. But this is lovely. Normally they always run away or are running in front of your car and won't let you pass. That happens quite often too. Now, Alexander, you said that it's not particularly easy for you to tell the difference between a hare and a rabbit. Now, I don't blame you, because when I was running around in Australia, there's obviously a number of rabbits running around, and I must tell you, from a distance they almost looked exactly the same as a hare. But there's two of them now. They've multiplied. Look at that. It's a magic act. And there's a lovely shadow. You don't often get to see their shadows, but one of the easiest things is actually the way that they move. So if you saw the scrub here, they don't hop, they run, whereas a bunny typically hops quite a bit. And well, the rabbits that I've seen aren't as big. I don't think they are as big as the hares. I think that the scrub hares could be a little bit larger. And of course, rabbits that I've seen is the Smith's red rock rabbit, and I have seen a riverine rabbit once before, which is quite a special one because the riverine rabbits are actually endangered. And they didn't look as big as the scrub hares, slightly smaller, a little bit more sort of reddish in colour, not quite tanned. And their ears can sometimes flop, not erect like the scrub hares, and of course the way that they sort of live. Whereas rabbits tend to burrow underground and they give birth underground too, whereas hares don't do that. They sort of conceal themselves underneath shrubs, and they do the same thing. That's where they'll nest as well. And a couple of moths also flying around, but that's just because of the light, of course, attracting them. Now, I don't know how to tell the difference between a male and female. I can only imagine that it is very, very difficult. But out of these two, just by looking at them, now we're just going to play a game, because I will never know the answer. And I don't think any of you will be able to guess the answer. Or maybe we've got a hair expert that is watching us this afternoon, or this evening, and can help us out. But which one do you think is the male, and which one do you think is the female? The one closest to us, the one on the left, or the one on the right that's further away, not casting the shadow? What do you think, Kirst? I think this one looks more male-like to me. I don't know why. I just think that this one looks like a male, and then and the female at the back, she just looks a little bit... I don't know why I think so. We will never know really though, which is which. But we're going to move past these hares now. We're going to continue towards the dam. Jamie has repositioned. Let's see if she's got a better view of those cute, cuddly cubs.
I have got a better view of the two cubby cubs, and it's not me that's doing the repositioning. It's them. They're going to go for a drink. And they might even play with each other. Oh. The two
Right, sorry about that. Jamie's fighting off the gremlins, but never fear. We managed to safely move past the scrub hares with ease this evening. Like I said earlier, normally it can be a bit of a disaster trying to sneak past the scrub hare because they run off the side of the road and then they're back in again and then they zigzag for a bit, and it can be a bit frustrating. But as I started my engine, Mr. and Mrs. Scrub Hare very kindly moved off of the road for me. And like I said, I still don't know who's who, but we'll just pretend that it was male and female. It could have been two females. Never really know. But we're almost at the dam. I hope we find something before we get to the dam, though. Maybe Shongile's already here. We haven't actually seen them around this area for quite some time. At one point, we were just sort of doing walks around here. I had Karula on foot, not too far away from here. Brent had all three of them, Karula, Hosana, and Shongile, just here on Wahlberg's Road. We've got a few more scrub hares you might see darting around, but we'll just let them carry on. I don't think that we'll get as good of a sighting as what we just had. That was really nice to watch that sort of grooming process that scrub hare was doing. I don't think I've actually seen. I have seen it before, but it's not a very common thing to see. I think they're quite skittish and they normally are not as cooperative. Maybe an owl will be on the cards tonight. Maybe a big spotted eagle owl or a rose eagle owl catching the scrub hare. That would be good. Or Shongile. Or anything really. Any animal will be fantastic. We are going to risk it to get the biscuit. Let's go back across to Jamie.
Brilliant. We've still got the cubs. We found some signal. This is going to be your last view because as they go down to this water, no, let's not say that. Let's risk it. Let's take the chance. I'm worried as they go down to the water's edge here, they are going to disappear off our radar, but let us try. I just need some light so I can see where I'm going. Here we go. There's mum and babies. Let me switch my lights off again. We can go back to infrared and hope I don't hit a hole. Oh, there we go. Down, down, down. Okay, stop here. And there we go. Lions drinking in infrared. How gorgeous is that? So, after all that, look at how massive that female is. She's had one seriously good meal. And two happy and contented looking cubs. After all of the tragedy that we went through with the Styx cubs. And kitty kitty bang bang, you would like to know how many cubs the Styx have at the moment. To the best of my knowledge, it is 6. 2 older, the ones that we're watching now, and 4 a little bit younger, quite a little bit younger than these 2. In fact, they must only be around about 2 months old now. That's as far as I know. The number stands at 6, unless one of the other females has given birth. What I mean when I say that what tragedy we've been through with the Styx, their last group of cubs, they had 8, and unfortunately none of them made it. None of them actually managed to reach adulthood. They all died due to mange or reasons, complications related to a mange infection that they had. It was tragic. It was absolutely tragic for us. all having a drink. Look at that. It's amazing because I can see absolutely nothing in the inky blackness, but with the infrared you can see so clearly how it's reflecting off the layer at the back of their eyes. But they're not seeing they're seeing exactly what I'm seeing when I look at the infrared light, which is just a dull red glow. It's amazing the way in which that tapetum lucidum works and the way in which the infrared settings on the camera pick things up. Standing by, Andrew. Oh, that's me there, Pooza here. Go for it, Andrew. Little cubs glancing back over their shoulders and then carrying on their drink. After a meal of waterbuck, I imagine that's enough to create a great thirst. And after this, they're going to go straight back to that kill, I imagine. She looks so unbelievably round-bellied. I'm so chuffed. We've battled off gremlins, we've done circles within circles, but we've got a chance to see the two older Styx cubs, and hopefully tomorrow morning we'll actually have the opportunity to see the younger ones as well. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. Sure, she was really, really thirsty. I thought she might have been, just from that incredibly rapid stroll, or that rapid stride that she'd adopted on her way here. She was racing along. The cubs were having to jog and to trot in order to keep up with her. All in all, I think we've had quite a special Earth Day. And hello to Kimberly, whom I believe must be a new viewer. Now, Kimberly, you would like to know, am I not terrified? Can they not hear or see me? Do they know that I'm here? They know that I'm here, Kim, and I'm not terrified at all. It's the extraordinary thing about these animals is that we're actually able to sit with them in these situations, and through years of ethical guiding, they've become comfortable with the presence of vehicles, and they don't see us as a threat, and they don't see us as a meal either. And that we're very, very lucky with. However, Kimberly, I would be lying if I said that I haven't had one or two moments where the hairs on the back of my neck have been standing up with this infrared. Now, typically, we know that lions are no longer afraid of humans at night. This is when they know that they are... Look at that. Look how wet that patch is around her mouth. We know that this is when they're at their most comfortable, at their most confidence, like now. For example, she's going to walk right past me, and in this situation, I can't see her with the naked eye at all. I can only see what the camera is seeing, and I've been surrounded by lions before in this situation, where I have to confess, even though I knew I was not at risk, even though I knew it was perfectly safe, the hairs on the back of my neck were still standing up because I could only see what the camera was seeing, and if the camera was pointed off to the left of my vehicle, every now and again a lion would slide past me, and all I'd hear was the soft pad of her footfalls. Oh, sweetheart. Quick cuddle from Mum, huh? Going to have a quick sniff. So, I'm not terrified, no. Nor should we be. But it is always an interesting experience because we're battling with an instinct. You go, little fatso. Off you go. Catch up with Mum. You're just a belly with legs at the moment. No, that's my vehicle. What you doing? Oh, okay. We're going to sleep there. That's interesting. That's an interesting decision to have made. Oh, okay, here comes number 2. I'm just going to... Oh, Mommy's calling you. She's right behind me. Please go to your mother when she calls you. Thank you. Here she is. She's calling the other one. The other one's going to come dashing along. Oh, listen to this. Hey, you little munchkin. Hey, mischief. Off you go. Oh, you'll get a smack if you don't come when you're called. And off they go behind the vehicle. Cool, huh? They're going to take us back through Gremlin Hollow as we follow them along down the road. And I think after that we'll leave them be to... Oh, goodness. Hello. We'll leave them be to continue on with our evening. But it has been very special to catch up with the Styx. I'm going to send you across to Taylor, who is illuminating the night for us all.
I think it's just absolutely incredible, Jamie, that you have saved the day, or the saved Catterday, by finding the lions. It's fantastic, and I hope that you are all, of course, enjoying it. Actually, that's a silly thing to say. I know that you are all enjoying that sighting. We, however, are not having very much luck with finding Shongile. We checked around the dam. I had a good search. There's plenty of impala around there, so it'd be a good spot for her to head, I reckon. But sadly, she is not around there just yet. It is very, very thick, so she could just be moving through an animal pathway, not sticking to the roads. But I'm sure that she's on the property, and hopefully tomorrow we will either find her or at least see her tracks to give us a better idea as to where she's been moving around. But keep an eye out on that damn cam if you can. If you are planning on staying up the whole night, please make sure you keep the damn cam in an open tab and just check on it every now and then, because if something is spotted, we of course would love to know first thing in the morning, so that we sort of know what to work with. I think we're going to go, I just did the middle road on quarantine, through quarantine, so let's just take this outer road and check sort of from the western corner of the plains right down to the south. Maybe we catch her. Now, we'll see. We have 3 feeds every single day. We've got the 2 drives and the walk, and Bobby, you were wondering who decides, who does what. We sort of just go on to like a rotation system, I suppose. So we all have one turn to walk, and then we drive. So, for instance, Jamie walked this morning, Tristan's this afternoon, I'm tomorrow morning, and then James will be tomorrow afternoon. So we just sort of do it like that. And because there's 4 of us, we all rotate quite a bit. It's quite nice. Just checking up in that tree, nothing though. So that's really just how it works. Nothing fancy, no special system. I love walking. It's getting tough though out here. I'm thinking about, and I know what it was like sort of a year and a half ago, or even just before I started working here, going out and doing walks. It became exceptionally difficult well, there was no grass. I'm actually not used to grass in the Sabi Sand, so I should be okay. But we used to see a lot of animals on walk, lots of elephants, lots of buffalo, and lots of hippos out of the water actually, searching for food, like we sort of saw today, but with no grass. But there really weren't any insects and little things to talk about to make it very interesting. So I think as the winter months come and we start doing our walks, I think we're going to get a lot of encounters with some of the big game, which will be nice. But it's also, sometimes it's nice to have a bit of vegetation around, because it does provide a bit of cover. Even though it's concealing the animals, it can also do you good, because it's never nice to be caught out in an open area with no shrubs, no nothing. If you need to hide away behind something, it becomes of course a little bit more difficult. But then at least we won't get grass seeds stuck in our shoes. I'm quite happy about that. I think the amount of shoelaces I've gone through in the past 8 months that I've been here is interesting. Just from all the burrs and the seeds and things getting stuck and sort of fraying the shoelace so that they don't do the job that they're supposed to do. I thought we were really going to bump into something special. I thought we were going to at least see a jackal when we were at the Arathusa airstrip. They weren't about. I thought maybe we would see a little genet or something moving around here. Wonder when we're going to see the white-tailed mongoose. It'd be nice if they popped around too. But again, as the grass gets shorter and shorter, we could just be missing them. Remember, this grass is quite long here on quarantine and in the surrounding areas. So even a honey badger, any one of those smaller creatures should be standing still, because that's what they do. If they get a fright and they're unsure about something, they completely freeze. And we wouldn't even know that they're there. We would just keep driving on by. So that's why I prefer winter, because you can see a lot more. Right, we are coming down to the final minutes of the show now, and I'm sure the last thing that you'd love to see, of course, is those lions. So I won't keep you any longer. Let's go back across to Jamie with the Styx Pride. Oh, no, still with me. Sorry to disappoint all of you. Senzo, I think we should hear your attempt at a lion call, a big roar. Think you can do one? And the director, Kirst, has now said you have to do one. Okay, wait, I'm going to stop. That is Senzo's lion roar. It's good. It almost you should have actually said you were going to do a leopard call, and I reckon that would have been 10 out of 10 for a leopard call. We'll have to get. I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard Tristan do a lion call. I'm sure he can do a very good one though. We'll have to ask him tomorrow morning. I can't do one. I don't have a deep enough voice to do a lion call. But otherwise, I know that Brent does a very good one. We'll have to get Brent to teach Senzo how to do a real lion roar. We'll get you there. We'll teach you all the sounds of the bush. It's like that's what we do in our spare time. If you didn't know us very well, with the amount of random sounds that we make on Game Drive. But we've been quite good. We haven't done anything too ridiculous for quite a while. Sorry? No, I don't. Senzo's saying that I said I was going to sing. I can't. Not tonight. My throat is sore. No singing from me today. That's my attempt at a silly little cough. This is fantastic. And I'm sure that all of you at home are singing happy birthday to Byron, so I'll leave it up to you that have got better voices. But unfortunately, this is it for us for this evening, of course. We're down now just to the final seconds of the show, and it's a pity that we didn't get to show you the lions one last time, but perhaps they'll hang around again and be out tomorrow morning. So from, all of us, from Jamie and her team, as well as Tristan and the Bushwalkers, and myself and Senzo, we'll catch you tomorrow morning on the Sunrise Safari.